Amazon is releasing a new product called Astro. It's a household robot that is basically an iPad on wheels. It works in conjunction with Alexa to both entertain you and monitor your home. It can learn the voices and faces of people in your household. If someone shows up that it doesn't recognize, it can send you alerts. Do you think that this is a positive innovation? Is it worth the loss of privacy for convenience like those provided by Alexa or Google Nest? Would you ever buy one of these products? And I use the wrong I. All right, whatever. This is, in case you haven't seen, I'm going to put this link in chat. Okay, this is the link to the ad on YouTube, right? It's like 3 minutes long. This is this is, I guess, just another step down this road, right? Of, I guess, intrusive technology, but I mean, it provides functionality. I just want to know if it's worth it, because I definitely have thoughts. I definitely have thoughts. So we'll go down the line and you'll do introductions there. Spectre, what do you think?
On the Amazon robot. Sorry, was that the prompt?
Yeah.
You lagged out there a little bit for me on mine. Okay. Yeah. So I have some concerns about this doing surveillance. The main reason for that is because they're selling it with Ring, and Amazon has used Ring to basically make contracts with police departments to allow them to access it without warrants. They've given police sales scripts to sell these to homeowners. And if we're looking at something like facial recognition that's also mapping your house, and its main function is to basically be a security dog, like scan people's faces, and if it's not authorized, call the authorities and notify you. I don't want them to have another camera that they can just access them like that. I don't want to give up privacy to law enforcement just for the sake of like added security, supposedly for the community. Yeah, and I don't like my data being sold, so I would not like it. We'll see if it gets past like the early adopter phase, and a lot of people get this. It may just be like a novelty toy for a few people, kind of like the Google Home system is right now. But yeah, we'll see.
You salsa.
I think to me it's really not that big of a deal. It's going to be a little bit different if they're forcing you to have these inside your homes, but they're not, right? All they're saying is, hey, if you want this, you can buy it and you can use the system. And if you're willing to give up those luxuries, then so be it. And I don't see any harm with that. I think it's a little bit like, I don't want to say rich, but like on there, because everybody and their mother carries a smartphone around with you, and you carry that everywhere, and you leave that, and it goes everywhere you go. If someone wanted to like map out your house, right? They don't. I don't think they had to do anything. Like I'm certain they could figure out a way to do it through your smartphone, right? Also, like, and it's fair, like all the criticisms in regards to Ring. Personally, what I do is certain little limitations to the entry of the house, right, and everything. You keep that like manual, right? So then that kind of null and voids the concerns about the cops, because even if it is inside, unless Ring is going to be able to like hop in and like invade your robot, right? But that'll be something else, right? I think the future is coming, right? No matter what, this is the future. We can slow it down, but this is going to be an adoptment. Like, this is going to be adopted by everybody, especially when they start doing really, really cool things. And people are like, you know what? I'll look the other way. You can have my data that you already get through my Google searches when, I no longer have to get up to go get a drink because my smart robot that's only $1,000 does it for me.
Oh man, and then he takes a drink at the same time. Okay, yeah, we're gonna have a fight. Let's the leader, Matt.
Yeah, so actually my concerns with this align with Spectre's like a lot. Like the fact that there's Amazon, I forgot the other. There's a bunch of companies that are actually having secret contracts with like that, just your police departments, but like ICE, through like third parties to basically give your data to a variety of different agencies. So like that's like my number one concern. There's like this idea that the AI are eventually gonna like take over and end human civilization. I think that is kind of silly. Like that's not something we need to actually be worried about, like whatsoever. I don't think AI are even remotely close. I'm looking forward to seeing Sam the Human's response here actually on that, because I have a think I have a pretty good understanding of like what the capacities of AI actually are, and I'm curious to test these thoughts out. But yeah, so like I think giving free information to national agencies or even local agencies is a huge problem. And yeah, we are going to be giving up a lot of data over the next few years, and I think we are going to start taking it casually. And I don't think this is a good change. I mean, like our data is getting leaked all the time. We saw it when Twitch had their leak. Experian had their leak, and like a third of all American social security numbers are out and about. So yeah, like I think this is an eventual trend where everybody's information is just out there to be taken. But I don't like this future at all, and I'm not taking it casually.
How about the Experian link? I completely forgot about that, but that was devastating. It's gonna.
Horrible, right? Like, why save anything at all?
That was
Like, why?
I just post that shit on my car, right? Like my bumper sticker. Why not? Okay.
Yeah.
Let's go, Dionysus.
Yeah, so I'll give it one thing. It's absolutely adorable. I'll give them that. But fuck this thing, right? Just get a Roomba. A Roomba would be better and clean for you. It's one overpriced. It's fucking garbage. I'm not a fan of. I already have this narc by my side every day. Yes, I unplugged her for this conversation, but I already have an Alexa next to me. It listens to everything. Fuck it. I don't want something else, especially something with enough facial recognition, like confidence installed in it, that it could alert security and yourself in general in case of a robber, or if it doesn't even recognize a face, right? I don't want that roaming around my house. Not a fan of it. Also, what Spectre said of it mapping out your floor plan, not a fan of that either, and it's been known that Ring sells its info to cops, so not a fan.
If I had one, I'd be like, see this guy right here? Shoot on sight. All right, anyway, moving on. Let's go to Captain H.
Yeah, so like, okay. So, I personally, I'm not sure how I feel about the selling the Ring data. That seems like it's pretty sketchy. Although I think that people who have the privilege to get these smart houses and have everything wired up in their lives, if they want to give up essentially like their Fourth Amendment right and sign that over to Amazon, well, more power to them, I guess. Like, I personally don't have any of those devices, so fuck that for me. But at the same time, if our robot overlords are going to be like pro marijuana legalization and progressive policies that I support, then maybe they're not so bad after all. And I yield to the next person.
Okay, sneaky debate, man.
I don't know about you guys, right? But I don't do anything that I don't like. I don't want people to know about. Like anywhere. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. Like, you take a picture of me like on the toilet. Yes, I've been to the toilet. Like, I don't care. Who fucking cares if that information's out there, right? Who cares if like my floor plan is out on the fucking Amazon has access to? I don't give a fuck. What am I gonna do about that? The fucking police gonna raid my house? I'm not gonna commit any fucking crimes. If I do, I doubt it's gonna be a fucking riot squad that needs to enter my fucking house. I'm not like a massive drug dealer or some shit like that, right? If anything, that data is gonna be used for when like someone breaks into my house and the police need it. Right, so I don't give a fuck, right? If you want this robot, buy the fucking robot, man. I don't give a fuck what they do with my data. My data is unimportant. I don't understand why people want to be so private about all that. Oh, my data. Oh, my data. I don't want people knowing that I watched 300 episodes of One Piece yesterday. They're like, I don't give a fuck, man. Like, no, fucking no. I think my bigger concern is not that they can like have the data. It's that they can't safely secure the data. That's my bigger concern, because like we see these leaks all the fucking time. Twitch had one the other day, like we were talking about the one earlier with the bank, right? It happens all the fucking time. That's the issue, right? I've been like defrauded like 6 fucking times. My bank fucking sucks, man. Right? That's what pisses me off. The fact that they can't store the data accurately, not the fact they have the data, adequately, not the fact that they have the data in the first place.
Well, white male, I have nothing to hide. Okay, all right. Sure.
It's true.
All right. Sam the Human,
right?
Who I'm actually very curious as to what you have to say about all this. Sam.
Yeah, so let's start by saying for the future of my employment, everybody please buy one of these. It'd be really great. I would really enjoy, being able to have a job in the future. working for Amazon. You know, maybe if they'll hire me on their AI department. I've heard it's actually pretty great. But no, I think that there are some really great concerns brought up by a lot of people here with the sharing of data, which leads to that compromising position that these companies find themselves in. The more people that they share the data with, the fact that they're maybe sharing it with the federal government or local police government, you have to then be aware that the data has to be transferred between those people. So there's another point of weakness. I can talk about that from my actual current job right now, which is working in database ETL automation. And then overall, from the technology standpoint, it's actually really cool how a lot of these where this technology comes from, which I know I talked to Spectre a little bit about this earlier when he was asking me when he was going to come on this panel. So I won't steal that thunder from him. But overall, there's like a lot of different aspects you can go for. The biggest concern I have is that Amazon holds a lot of this code and a lot of the AI technology and code in closed source and behind closed doors. They're not a company that has been open with their AI technology and how their models work, unlike OpenAI, which, I mean, even their newer models have not been open source, and we could talk about that. But I do believe that the future of AI, to be safe and secure, should be open. I think that there's been plenty of things that showcase that open source is a safe method of creating new technology and developing horizontally rather than vertically, with like Android, or you could even look at security features like PGP or GPG, which are two ways that we securely communicate between two computers. That has been open source since 1991. You can go and read the documentation for PGP encryption. Anybody can. It's free and open on the internet. So, and it hasn't actually been, there hasn't been a vulnerability in it. Usually all these vulnerabilities come from either people not updating their code, not updating their code base. It's usually human errors. So it's usually not computers that are messing up.
Okay. Open to the panel.
So, yeah, I mean, like, I personally don't have a problem if somebody wants to buy one of these things. But could somebody explain to me, like, the whole, like, as I'm not exactly too familiar with them selling their information to the company.
Okay, yeah, I wanted to.
In good faith, I'm not asking, gotcha.
So I wanted to clarify on that. We're not talking about just selling information to cops here, right? We're talking about contracts with like 400 plus police departments, and I'll provide a link for this, where they can access these Ring cameras without a warrant. Considering they're offering them as a package deal with the robots, I would wager to say they're probably going to start selling similar contracts and make it part of just like the end user license agreement in order to operate it. And it's going to be only online to operate. So that would be the concern. Is it's not just selling data to law enforcement, which it will definitely do, but it's also allowing just like I don't want the police watching me. I think that anybody, like Spoon asked why we should care, like anybody with like politics to the left of liberalism, like when the right gets into power in this country, like things get a little bit dicey. Like Trump's only been gone for a year, but I feel like everybody forgot about like some of the rhetoric and how insane that got. So, yeah.
I guess I don't live in a dystopia, so that does change my opinion, yeah.
I mean, you don't live in this. I mean,
God damn it.
when was the last time you had gas?
Got us there.
Shut the fuck up. We're just poorly run, okay? It's not dystopic.
Isn't the UK, like, you're from the
Very
UK,
different.
isn't the UK known for like their surveillance and video cameras that they have everywhere?
Exactly.
It's not
I thought that was a huge thing.
No, it is.
That was my point when I said
Yeah,
like he's
okay.
from England. Like obviously he doesn't care. He's been filmed on the shitter like a
He's
dozen
like,
times.
he's like, this is already a fact.
The Queen knows I take shit, so I'm fine.
Wait,
Hey, she's probably watching you right now. Like,
Are you telling
I
me
hope
the
so.
mirrors
That
in your
gets the
bathroom aren't
viewership.
one-way Americans?
Yeah, exactly. I got a little
Hey, listen,
fucking MI6 agent.
Amazon will just sell the facial recognition technology to England, and then all their CCTV will be equipped with it. You know, once it's
Yeah,
been
it'd be great, man.
reinforced and
Fucking commit a crime, you
protected
get
in the
fucking-
in the US.
Yeah, you commit a crime and you get psychopaths. They fucking scan you on the street and they bring you in easy. Good game.
I know, like, I know,
looking
like,
at, oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, I know a feature that like attracts me about it, right? Because I don't have an Amazon. Like, technically, I have an Alexa. I don't use it. I don't need to use it. But I know I used to live in a sketch area for a period of time when I used to live in Las Vegas. And I had a couple break-ins around the area, and like when you think somebody's in your house, right? going out to go find them is like a little, you know, that's a little
Okay.
bit nerve-wracking, right? Because if they are in your house, you don't know where they're hiding. You don't want to turn on lights and everything else like that. It's like there's a whole ways of doing it. But if I can send out like a little robot, or a
You're gonna
robot is
send
going
your
to
poor
check
little
that
robot
for
out
me.
there.
Send
Hell
out
yeah, I
a
would.
little drone
Poor little
bot
robot.
underneath the
Listen,
door.
it's either my
So it's-
robot
it's-
or my
unit.
son,
Wait,
and I don't have
it's
a
a-
child yet.
It's a
bomb disposal
robot. Wait,
unit.
hold on, guys. It's a
It's
robot.
got a
It's
gun on it.
Metal, please.
Okay, just don't give it a name, all right? Like if you give it a
course
name,
you
It
gotta
has
give
a
it a
name.
name.
It's named
No,
after
like
the
it-
dog from Jetsons.
no, I'm saying
That's
I
where it
mean,
gets
I
its
know that, but I'm
name.
saying like don't give it your own name for it, right?
Well, of course
Like, don't
not.
call it
Because
Charlie and say, "Hey, Charlie, go get him, boy." Like that'd be horrible.
last thing we're
if I
about to
can
do is-
adjust the name, I will adjust the name from
You
Astro.
accept it into your
Astro's pretty good.
family, and then it dies, and it's tragic. You have to bury it.
I would rather
I
it be
love
open
you,
source.
new salsa.
Sam?
I would rather it be open source so I could build my own. So then I could have it. do
Yeah,
more,
fuck
you know,
yeah.
like that's
They
the
won't
other
do that,
thing.
though.
That's
Oh, yeah.
They won't do that,
I was
but
gonna
that would be
say,
cool.
so this is actually like good timing because Business Insider just did an investigation and found that Amazon, Google, and Microsoft have been like using a lot of different third parties to sidestep public scrutiny. Unfortunately, the whole article is behind a paywall, which I'm not going to. I couldn't figure out how to get past it. It's my great shame, but I posted a thing in
Not that you
in
would
chat.
want to, because you would never get around a paywall.
No,
Yeah.
obviously not.
No.
I would never do that, and
Alright,
nobody else should do that.
I'm
here.
going to wait. So should I be candid about something I've done that's terrible in this
You should.
in this field?
No, not here.
Okay.
Oh,
all right,
Amazon's
all right.
listening.
I love you, Jeff Bezos.
Okay. All right. Look.
What if it's with Slate though?
Okay.
No, okay, it's fine. That's fine.
So-
He's a mad lad. He's a mad lad. What can you say?
So
Oh.
if no one else is gonna do it, I'll do it. I'll start the fight. All right, Salsa, you and me. This is the encroachment, right? Everything you said, right? Like, if I was a tech executive, I'd have such a hard one, right? Like, this is beautiful, right? Look at him. He's already let down his defenses, right? Well, yeah, I mean, I guess I made some, like, seedy searches on Google, and once I've crossed that threshold, well, you know what? Why don't I allow this a device in that can listen to me, right? I mean, I have a phone that's always on me all the time too. And you know what? Why don't I have this other device that now has facial recognition and voice recognition and like knows the exact layout of my house and who comes in and out all the time, right? Like, sure, why not, right? Like, hey, next time, why don't I install cameras, right, in my bedroom, for safety's sake. For safety's sake, you never know what's gonna happen, right? Like this is exactly the problem, right? This actual encroachment. It starts small, and then it ends up with a fucking robot in your house, like watching you. That's the issue.
My actual least favorite
Here's-
thing, by the way, to follow up on Prime's rant, is when I go over to someone's house and it turns out they've had an Alexa just listening to us talk the whole time,
Oh yeah.
and they just all of a sudden say, "Hey Alexa," and I'm like,
Okay, I do want
Alexa.
to push
There's a
back on
misunderstanding.
Repeat
this.
this conversation
Um,
back exactly.
Let's get Salsa, and then you, Sam, please.
Right. I think I know where you're going to go, Sam, about the Alexa thing, so I'll leave that entirely to you. But real quick, you already, like, all the concerns that you're having are literally your cell phone, right? Because your cell phone would be like, oh, well, I don't know. Your cell phone, 100%, like your individual one that's inside your pocket and the camera, that one may not be able to tell, like, who's around your house. But you have cell phone towers that you bounce around to that they record and that they know your presence around. You have your GPS location that's oftentimes on, even though you have it as set as off. That's an entirely different issue, right? So they know who you hang out around, right? There's a reason why you can think a certain way and then you all of a sudden see an advertisement for it. It's because all this behavior that you've already been doing inside
Buddy,
yourself.
you're breaking up a little bit.
They know why. They know
what
why.
way?
My Fitbit said I run 3 miles, but I hadn't left my room. That's they know.
Is that just me? Is it, sorry,
Am I still breaking up?
pause. Is that just because I also heard Spoon breaking up?
Yeah, it's just you.
Oh, fine,
It's
hold on.
just
One second. I'm gonna leave him come back. All right.
Sure.
One second.
all the different ways.
Okay.
Must be me.
You're good
Like,
now.
we're shit on the stream.
It was me. All right, go ahead. I'm sorry, Salsa.
Yeah. So it's like my concern, or I guess what I'm saying is that by having this robot inside your home, you're not really adjusting too much, right? I would say it might get a little bit more information, maybe a little bit more accurately, but like you're not nearly being as sneaky with your data and your privacy as you think you are by the simple fact that you have the cell phone that's around you all the time.
Yeah.
Right.
But
And so it's just like
but
you're not really achieving anything.
already
That's
have
my
that
thing.
data.
but hold on, we're not just talking about data here. Like I am concerned with them selling, like I'm concerned with Facebook selling my data to law enforcement. I'm concerned with like Twitter selling my data to law enforcement because they talk about politics on their intelligence agencies, all this shit. But I'm also concerned about like they can literally access the cameras without a warrant. Like this is very different. My phone cannot do that as far as I know at this point. I'm not going to put it past Verizon to get a contract, but like even though cell phone industries have like an oligopoly on pricing, they are competitive enough that I don't think they're going to start being the one that shells out like information to the feds first. So like I don't think that that's always a fair comparison when people are talking about things like this.
Yeah.
I would have to see exactly a little bit more about the Astro thing, and because I was trying to read a little bit about your articles, but I got distracted by my beer. But it's like it depends to the element, because I am right there with you. If anyone besides me, like period, can access Astro and make it drive around, right? And access the cameras like that, I have a problem with it 100%. Since it's a piece of technology, it's always theoretically possible, and maybe it not be a feature day one, but could be a feature
Well,
later,
dude,
right? But like if anyone can like outside activate it, like then I personally would have an issue. So yeah,
But-
I
Did
agree
you
with
hear about that, by the way?
Okay.
but due to the
Maybe
fact that
one-
like it's no warrant required, law enforcement can just access this at any time. Like you
I would have to see
understand.
this.
Yeah, it's like they're doing it for 400 companies with Ring, and they're selling that like as a package with the Astro. So they're obviously going to do it, and like that shouldn't be something that they can do with any camera that I own, because it's like that means that's going to have to always be online, always on a network. That means the NSA is definitely going to get into it, and it's like when we had issues with the other things that Edward Snowden caught the NSA or outed the NSA for doing. We discovered that like agents were looking at like ex-girlfriends and like stalking people and shit. And like doxing motherfuckers. Like not everybody who works at these intelligence agencies is always a good person. Like I just don't want these people to be able to turn on a camera in my home.
So Salsa, you and I aren't done, but I'm gonna go to Sam first.
Yeah, so I have a couple things now to add. So on to Salsa, I think that there's like a huge difference between being able to triangulate your location via cell towers or GPS versus like having a camera and motion sensors and LiDAR that's inside your house. Those are like different things completely, and being able to map it at a different level of granularity is like a huge deal for some people. I'm not going to comment on whether or not I would have a Astro in my house, but for mapping that. But the other thing is that there is like if your concern is that like somebody else is going to be able to control it, unfortunately, there's no bulletproof way. Even me singing the praises of open source technology and the security that open source technology can bring, it's never going to be bulletproof. Car and Driver had hired black hat or gray hat hackers. Sorry, I shouldn't call them black hats, to hack Elon Musk's auto driving car and drive-by-wire technologies that were supposed to be secure, that were supposed to be top level security. So like these things are never going to be foolproof. So that's like one of the things. So unfortunately, if that's your concern, if that's your line, like you're never going to want one of these ever near you. But unfortunately, there are some benefits that this technology brings in the world of social computing and human-computer interaction that I think are important, that can help people with like dementia, which is something I brought up. If your voice can talk to somebody with dementia while you're across the country, that is a huge deal. Talking to family members and being able to communicate with family members in a meaningful way is much more important than just a video call. If you can walk around the house with your father who may have dementia and make sure that he's being safe and make sure that he's remembering his medication, and that could be sent to you, you're going to feel so much secure. Like that's a feature that this could bring in a perfect world. I mean, of course, if it doesn't make Amazon money, they're not going to do it. But that's something that like maybe we're not foreseeing when we're talking about this only as purely a security problem. Now, another thing to talk about the Alexa thing, because I love this meme is fun, but Alexa actually on board has enough computing power to recognize the Alexa word. So that's as much as it's recording, and it records a little bit beforehand, but it's never actually sending that back to the base until it hears the word Alexa. So it is recording, but like it's never actually transmitting that data until the onboard machine hears the word Alexa. If you,
Technical question on that, real quick.
yeah,
Would it be possible for someone on the outside to create like another trigger word for Alexa to activate on?
surely that is true.
Okay.
Amazon has been very protective of that. Something that I did during my undergrad was actually build a smart assistant, building using voice, and we used Deep Blue, IBM's backend. So basically, I had to write the code that would do that, and I actually implemented a small model that could recognize the keyword, and then after that, it would actually transmit up. So I kind of have a little bit of understanding about how that works, and because one, this is it makes sense to do this anyway because it's cheaper for Amazon. If they don't have to, I mean, it's not that expensive for them. They transmit terabytes of data probably an hour, but like if they can save, then they'll do it. It makes sense.
Okay. So I guess I had a few thoughts here. So like, yeah, I acknowledge that like Alexa can only be activated through like a keyword, but like I was saying, like I do have concerns about security. And there were like a string of really awkward hacks that have gone on with smart technology. Like there was a baby monitor that was attached to the interwebs, and like a creepy dude was talking to the kid on the other end of the baby monitor and like saying really vile things to them, right? Um, Things like there's a bunch of stories. Like, there's like a whole slew of these that happened. And besides the outside influences impacting, like just like the folks who aren't supposed to be able to do it, there's also the idea that we are going to get more targeted advertising based on the keywords that we express. Like I remember once I was having lunch at work, pre-COVID or whatever, and we were talking about I don't remember what it was, like just some random topic. I have not talked about this topic in probably like 6 years, right? We were just having a conversation at lunch about it. And when I got home and I logged onto Facebook, I got spammed with ads for a product related to the topic we covered at lunch. And like there was no way it was possible for there to have been like any kind of correlation. Like I did no Google searches or whatever else. I presume someone else at the office might have done a Google search about the product we were talking about that day, but like it freaked me out. Like so like the fact that there could be targeted advertising to me based on like my general location near people who are Google searching things is kind of disconcerting.
So something about that, targeted advertising usually uses a lot of modeling, and very very advanced tech. There's a lot of different ways, and every company does. AdSense does it a little different from Facebook ads, and this is kind of where the competition is like how the actual model works. But the thing is that targeting ads can be a lot more can be a lot crazier than that. You may even not search something that's related, and they can make a prediction about when you're going to want to purchase something. There's actually a story of somebody that I was told this during my undergrad AI course. A woman got targeted ads for baby
Didn't
baby
know she was
carriages,
pregnant.
Yeah.
and she didn't know she was pregnant. The targeted ad model that Target had used from this third party company was so accurate that it was able to predict her being pregnant before she and her family knew, and she was under 18, which was like a big deal. Like these models are can give us information on things that we have no idea what they're doing. It is one of the problems about AI, and I actually do want to. I wanted to have an AI topic, a panel about talking about the black box issue of AI and like kind of how we talk about it. That's like a very interesting topic that we could probably have a conversation for hours on if you get some people who kind of know what they're talking about. And so like targeted ads are a lot more complicated than this, and to a layperson it can look very very spooky. I would be very careful with like saying those things about like Google or things like that. And there are things to be concerned. A lot of the default settings may include things like phoning home data when you don't want it to. and that is actually psychologically something that they do. You are less likely to opt out of something than to opt in. So companies will set the phone home setting in by default, and you're just going to go click, 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 click. I agree, 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 agree. And then you're never going to think about turning it off because they hide it under 15 menus, right? They make it hard. They use their expertise in what's called HCI, human computer interaction, to like make sure that you don't get opt out. And this is like things that we could be concerned about. These are actual technical, like kind of diasporic kind of ideas that like occur in big tech, right? That's more concern to me than the ideas of like an AI takeover of like the T100s or like some of these other things that people concerned about.
Can we actually talk about the because I'm not worried about like a robot takeover whatsoever. I think it's like ridiculous. But I would like so like the way I've always understood how like AI like operate as far as like cameras and stuff goes, is that you've got footage, right? And then that footage is converted to pixels, and then it's the AI's job to like interpret what like a sequence of pixels is supposed to look like, right? And it's not remotely accurate enough for the robots to be able to do like too much in terms of navigating the world around us. Like we've got self-driving cars, but like they're not 100% accurate, and that's why we don't have self-driving cars everywhere yet. Like it's like sort of like a thing we're working on.
Yeah.
And then like I feel like in terms of like drone strikes and that sort of thing, where AI are being applied, all that stuff requires human approval, right?
So okay, so with vision, computer vision, I'll talk about this. So there are lots of different levels of computer vision, from really basic to very much more complex. Things like how your iPhone detects that you are who you are is a lot more complex than just being able to detect a face or like an object. Like if you're making a model that can detect a specific type of object, like let's say your face, it's actually pretty simple. The algorithm that is used in most things, including DSLR cameras, probably your phone, is called Viola Jones, and it's a very simplistic model that like can be trained and run on very, very light equipment. So those things can be really helpful. So like in drone strikes, they might use Viola Jones to say, hey, we are looking for this kind of thing. And then maybe when they want object detection, they're going to pass that on to a more complex model so that the light work can be done, and basically they're always a lot more complex. With self-driving cars, basically self-driving cars have had a expansive amount of money put into them since the DARPA challenge from 2007, which was the American government backed a project to try and make self-driving cars. So basically hired independent firms, college students to challenge themselves to make a self-driving car and drive through a desert. Tons of technologies are layered on top of each other for to make self-driving cars work: LiDAR, radar, cameras, object detection, things like that. So and specifically with self-driving cars, a lot of people don't know this, is that we have 6 levels of self-driving cars. We have level 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Elon Musk's and Tesla are currently level 2 or level 3. And you can make Elon Musk coined the term level 2.5, but the first level 3 production car is actually going to be produced by Hyundai. So,
Ow.
Is that not ironic? Fuck Tesla and fuck Elon Musk. I mean, he's been lying to people for years. Weren't we supposed to have robot taxis like 2 years ago?
The other thing is that I've talked about this every time I come on to talk about AI, but there's an idea called an AI winter and AI spring, where AI technicians and companies will overpromise during AI springs, and then investors, bitten by the over promising, will recede, and then technology will kind of slowly develop. And this has been a cycle that has been around since the 60s. AI, as we know it as lay people, are probably thinking that it's a new technology, but AI and machine learning has been around since the 50s and the 60s in terms of like actual computer science.
So I liked what Sam had said previously on this being a difference in kind, right? In terms of like this intrusion, right? Like, because then this is don't want to do it, but Slippery slope. I'm saying it. It's out there in the field now. You're just gonna have to deal with it. Like, why not have them install chips in you? Right? Like, seriously. Like, I know this is like the conspiracy thing, but why not? Like, if we had that, like, why not? Like, there could be a number of benefits, health benefits, tracking you in case you ever go missing, right? For security, for maybe like if it could actually provide information, like valuable information that you could read out on a screen, right? Like, there's a whole list of things that they could do if they literally chipped you. So
Yeah, I'm okay with that. That
So-
sounds fun.
Are you
Right,
not
I
going to do
feel
that
like
if that
I
comes
know
about?
Sneaky Debate Man would be all about it.
Yeah,
I
man.
just had this
My
thought.
ultimate goal is to join like the gay communist space hive mind. Okay, so
There you
like
go.
I'm cool with this.
There's only one condition where I'd be okay with it, and it would be if the chip was in my hand and there was magnetism involved, and I could like pull a beer into my hand from across the room. If something like that was happening, I'd be okay with it actually. But besides that,
that's
it's
the
a horrible
robot.
idea.
That's the robot for
No,
it. The robot
okay,
brings you the
Let
beer.
me- let's talk about like the biggest. Yeah, right. That's what the robot's for. True. But let's talk about like the biggest problem with actually chips, right? So there was this situation where U.S. passports were given RFIDs, right? And the idea was that these RFIDs and these U.S. passports were supposed to make it possible for airports to automatically detect whether a U.S. citizen was entering the country. Blah 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 blah. And at this tech conference, this person was able to take the U.S. passport RFID system and apply it in such a manner where they could literally detonate explosives next to any RFID that had that specific tag. So, like, if we are microchipped in that sense, there'd be like the immediate concern that those chips could be used to attack us directly.
So, but isn't this just like this just reeks of like the concern we get about like any new technology, right? And I understand these concerns like should be had, but like anytime something new comes
can't
about,
undo
it's
that.
like, but what if the government uses it to kill us all and our heads explode? Like this is literally like every new technology that ever comes about, the question, will our heads explode because the government presses a button is asked. It's like this came about with like cell phone towers, like 5G even more recently, right? People like microwaves. When microwaves were introduced, they were like, but if you put something in a microwave, you're eating radiation and you're gonna
So, like, I
die. The
agree
government
that,
is selling us
no,
chips are gonna
microwaves.
kill us,
Don't
right?
agree and
But,
don't,
like,
don't agree to anything though.
True.
Don't agree to anything he just fucking said, right? No, he's bullshitting you. He's like what is this straw man that you're throwing up,
5G,
right?
it's gonna
No
get
one
me.
said
It's
any of
true.
that. We're
That's
talking
I
about
agree.
real
I agree.
dangers.
It's not relevant.
Real dangers that we know actually exist, right? Not saying that fucking 5G mutates your fucking DNA or any shit like that, right? No, looking at actual evidence, right? Like you as a leftist, right? All of a sudden trusting the government with this data to never misuse it. When we fucking know they have. We know they had a massive spying program on American civilians using smart devices in our homes, right? They've done it with TVs. They've done that. They've hacked those, right? So it's true that Musasa is right when he says that like, you take a risk with your phone, right? It's a calculated risk, and your phone could be hacked, and then the full suite of tools it has could be used against you. And in fact, like for instance, an example of this is husbands using like spyware on their wife's phone to track them, like a domestic abuser to keep track of what she's doing.
Like,
this is a thing that happens, right? So no, that's true. But once
the
you're
issue
giving
is with
more
barrier to entry,
avenues,
though.
more vectors for this to happen, and as
Yes.
Mad Latin says,
know.
right? Like we've seen them. These things aren't foolproof. They will never will be, right? If you worked in IT security, you work in IT in general, and you understand that it's not a matter of if, but a matter of when your shit's gonna get hacked, and if you'll find out about that, right? So why take those? Why open up new vectors, right? Like
it's just
Yeah, no, hold on,
okay,
Spoon. I think this goes back to like just you live in Britain and you don't understand what happens here, right? Because like the government doesn't actually ask permission to access any of this fucking information, right? Like we've already seen that the NSA will just go around like what is
This is not
actually
a quick
law,
peek.
and when
Listen.
people come out and like try to out them for it, like whistleblowers have been like punished severely. Edward Snowden can't fucking come back
I
to
agree.
America.
No,
Like,
but Edward Snowden wasn't punished. Well, he was
We didn't
punished for that.
extradite
But it
him,
was
though.
a copy and paste.
That's
It's
right.
the methodology that he did, right?
Because
like
Britain is
there's-
based. We didn't extradite Edward Snowden. Okay, that was based of us. Anyway,
It wasn't
again.
Never mind.
this is not a critique of the technology itself. It's a critique of the fucking government, right? And like, just like my answer to this is have a better government, right? Like, we can't just halt progress because like the government's fucking trying to get a better government.
Yeah,
right?
we'll just storm the Capitol and like install. What are you talking about? Like, we have to.
You elect represent. It's like you get mobilized and you elect and you start putting your privacy first, because you got to be honest. Everybody out here is going to be advocating and saying privacy is very important to them, and it very much it is. But when it comes down to the national stage or even probably the locals, I don't think privacy as far as like online was really that big of a conversation compared to everything else.
I think there's something very different between like what we have now, where like some words are being picked up by our smart devices, versus what could be where like entire conversations are being recorded, right? And it's not just the idea of us doing like things that are bad and then getting in trouble for that. It's the idea that there could be a government agency who wants us to be in trouble, right? Like they're like targeting a specific individual. They're like, you know what? I really want this guy to be found guilty of anything. And then taking chunks of conversation and saying, you know what? This is enough evidence. We can actually proceed with our investigation.
It's not even
happens though. We just talked about this, right?
No. Wait, real quick. Because hold on. Let me respond to this, because if we're going to talk about this
all the time, right?
If we're going to
happen all the time.
If we're going to talk about, especially when it comes down to like the Astro device and everything, when it comes down to the Ring cameras, reading the articles that Spectre did give, right? Like one of them did have a rebuttal, like only had the rebuttal from Ring itself, where Ring said, no, we don't do this. This isn't a thing. We don't give out our data over to the government unless there's valid legal documentation. But they need this information. They need a warrant, but like that wasn't the claim previously.
So, like,
the claim was that they could just
gave a warrant to an agency to kick down someone's door in the middle of the night. Like that's the same sort of warrant that could be given to the Ring company saying, "Hey, give us these documentation." Like,
but if we can all agree, that's less of a concern. That's less of a fear, as opposed to like, or because all cops aren't great, right? As like random cop A who wants to just access your Ring camera because you're an attractive woman and he's stalking you, as opposed to like a judge has to get an approval.
Oh yeah, because individual police actors have never done anything to harm women, right?
And let's be clear.
Do we want to talk about that in the UK? Do we want to talk about individual police actors harming women in the UK using their credentials as police?
One time.
Let's hold on. Let's be clear. Amazon is definitely still giving like sales scripts to cops for some reason, and we have to remember again that the government is not always going to access.
What sales scripts? Can you explain what that is? I don't know what that means.
Okay, so do you know like that Ring has salespeople? I actually have a buddy who left the company that I work for that was doing sales that went to work for Ring, and he makes a lot of money there now. He went like when they were a little bit smaller, but.
Are you saying like cops are going around knocking door to door selling like Ring?
No, the other way.
No, they're not like they're not going door to door. As far as I know, I would have to do more research on it, but I can link you the article. They're absolutely have admitted to like giving these sales scripts to cops and other law enforcement. And my issue is that like again. Like these are always online systems, so government agencies are not always going to ask permission to just like create a backdoor and get into these. And like, neither is law enforcement every single time. Like
if the government wants dirt on you, they already have it, and they have done since the birth of centralized power.
Yeah, but like my issue would be like, what if somebody like Donald Trump, like Mad Lad said, this could be used by government agencies to like make to like get dirt on a certain individual? What if it's targeted? Let me finish. What if it's targeted at a certain group of individuals? Like, what if it's somebody that's fucking competent and wants to eliminate like political dissidents? Right? Like, I don't fucking want.
Anyway.
Do you think Astro is going to be the barrier? That's going to be.
Wait, did somebody just say we're going to do this anyway? Is that
no? It's going to happen. If someone understands they want to kill all BLM protesters, the thing that's not going to stop them is an Astro robot.
So
right?
Why make it easy?
They're going to be able to grab that.
Unironically, everybody here has been proving his point, right? All of your critiques none of them have been on the technical aspect of the machine. None of them have been on the actual features of the robot. They have been on the usage and the usage of the data and the passing of the data through companies. Your critiques are on the actors in this scenario. What we would call like the stakeholders in software production, right? So the Amazon, your critiques are with Amazon and how they use your data, not how data database, like have been some critiques about how data is stored, but again, I think most of those issues would be solved if we fixed humans, because if every machine was kept up to date with security, then that could be we could be having a different conversation. But again, nobody here has made a critique of the actual technology. I don't think anybody is like, if they knew 100% that their data would never be leaked, that their data would 100% be confidential, right? Because the government's not listening in, Amazon is not selling it, right? How many of you would get an Astro to have a robotic assistant in their house?
Like, yeah.
I probably
If
would.
it was, if money was not a cost.
Robots from iRobot,
I'd do
man.
it.
That'd be base.
What would you do? Okay, maybe
I'd
I'm
be like,
missing
make me
the
a
point.
smoothie. Like, my ultimate goal is to be one of the fucking like Wall-E people, like sat here with my fucking fat ass belly, like robot get me things,
Hey man,
and I don't have to do
halfway there. Good
fucking
job.
shit, right?
I mean,
Yeah,
I
same
just
here,
need to
though.
like
That's
what,
fucking. That's like that. When people bitch and complain about Uber and Lyft, I'm like, you didn't use taxis before. Shut the fuck up. Now you're not driving home drunk. Just shut the fuck up.
Yeah,
There's a
man.
lot of benefits to these things. Like,
Yes.
okay,
and sometimes we may not like. Yeah, a robot assistant could help a ton of people.
Technology is
They could-
good.
Yeah, and
fine.
technology has
Technology is
overall
great.
benefited
Explain to me why
humankind
this
since
first
it
iteration-
came out.
This first
But yeah,
iteration of
then we're gonna
robot,
have the nuclear bombs,
whatever.
and we need to fucking make sure that we don't use those nuclear bombs. And but of course, that's government. When was the last time
So,
a tech?
my question here? All right, I don't care about nuclear bombs. I just want to know, what does this product actually do for me that would be like even remotely? Like, I can't comprehend actually spending any amount of money for a robot assistant.
It's a
to do
secure.
anything.
It's not even a robot
So-
assistant. It's a security dog. It has that's its main feature. It does facial recognitions and will contact authorities if it's recognized as a face that's not like authorized.
Yeah,
It
but again,
also
I said
shows
I said
it
if
also
money.
shows the difference
so
between
if I live in
priorities between
if I
you
live
and
in-
other people, because somebody else
Okay.
might prioritize their security and being able to keep an eye on whatever their different rooms in their house more than you. That's all that really shows.
But
Yeah,
I
I don't
guess
usually appeal to the whole vision of the founders thing. I think it was like Benjamin Franklin that said he who gives up his security or privacy for security deserves neither. Something like that. So I don't know, dude. I don't
I
like.
don't agree with that sentiment necessarily either, but I just don't see.
Well, let's. I'm gonna walk a fine line, right? And so I don't want to make too many assumptions. I could imagine specifically for you, right? And I'm gonna vague words. I know the truth. It's stupid, but in your family and everything else like this, right? I don't know if you watched the advertisement that they had, but even on the advertisement, they did show it was significantly easier for a child to interact with the Astro while having the grandparents on the opposite end that could follow, right? So the child would be able to be a child, not worry about a phone, yes, whatever, and be a child. Look, grandma, I can show you this, or and so that'll be a good interaction. Or if you're busy, right? People are working and you're over there, but you have to make dinner or whatever's going on, and your child's starting to get to the age where you can't keep track of them 24/7. It's going to feel a little bit more comfort knowing Astro's maybe hanging out and at least acting like a mobile nanny cam. I know, I think I'm not gonna lie. I would get massive usage out of that thing, especially if I was gonna be a Twitch streamer. Where the hell is my 3-year-old that's not gonna stay comfortable in this one room? Maybe my Astro's following them around, right?
Yeah.
That ain't that bad.
I'll give you one point. Having the robot follow my kid or kids rather around is valid.
We'd only watch them kill themselves, right? That's
I mean,
what
I mean, yeah.
No.
Let's be very.
Too much, Ryan. God damn.
Oh my God.
Okay, so I mean, again,
Baby
Okay, so
mine is shitty parenting. The idea here is that some of what Salsa said is actually really important. Again, I brought it up earlier. The interaction, the ability for social computing here is huge, and that piece of technology is what we should be emphasizing. And again, I would rather prefer it not be Amazon, and I would rather it be focused on that social computing aspect rather than connecting with your smart home and connecting with your Ring and having these security features that are like a guard dog, because that's, to me, as somebody who does research into this, is more exciting than having a facial recognition dog that runs around.
I mean,
So I got a question then, all right, especially for the deniers, because Sam, I think you just said something that just popped in my mind, right? Everything, all technology, right? like you're gonna have not all technology, but you're like Amazon is the lead, right? They're starting this with Astro with the first one, and they're gonna set this up, but they're not gonna be unique, right? They're unique at first, so the first to market, presumably, right? But theoretically, over time, there's gonna be competitors, and there's also going to be an open source competitor that says, "Look at everything that we're doing, and we can see this." If this would be the case, where there was a competitor that's like, "You can see all of our files, everybody is open, it's open source." Would that, and like you can sell because it's in the coding, we're not sending anything over, we don't even have capabilities to have to even go inside your stuff, you can look at the files, it's like, would that change your mind then?
No,
This is
that actually
hold
makes-
on.
it actually makes-
No.
Oh, wait, can we?
No,
let me
5
explain.
seconds.
Hold on, gotta get Spectre.
All right, fine.
Yeah, like this idea that there's going to be competitors, you can't compete with Amazon. That's absurd. They have the highest stock value on the freaking NASDAQ. They could sell these things at $1 for 5 years and stay in fucking business. Their investors don't give a shit. They can always undercut you. You can't compete with these companies. And that's the other issue that we're not talking about here, is Amazon just keeps on getting more and more market share and more fucking markets. And like it's getting close to like just... we're going to allow them to form a pretty much oligopoly or at least domination in every market because they can, in fact, undercut everyone. And they just keep on putting people out of business in more fields.
The accelerationist in me says, fine. And then we'll, like, once they eventually get there, we'll just overthrow Amazon. But
Yeah, I think and I think the simple solution to that is breaking them up, breaking their monopoly up. Although, of course, that requires the political will to do, which definitely is not there.
Ignoring the political will, like let's just pretend that an open source version of this is possible or whatever. I would actually be less likely to get the product because we already talked about hackers getting into the nanny cams and stuff. Like just wait until a hacker can get into the robot that's following my little 3-year-old around and making it do things that I don't want it to do. Like that sounds terrifying, actually. So no, I would definitely not want, like 1,000% not bring the thing.
I hate this like
whatsoever.
new technology is dangerous talking point. It's like
But
it just reminds me of like why would we install telephone lines? Anything I can do with a telephone, I can send via telegram.
True.
It's like
text messages are way too fast.
No.
It's just
I'll just send a letter.
It's not even
a boy
special.
with a letter.
That's what people are constantly typoing and shit.
There's no personal.
Fucking frustrating.
This is why self-driving cars.
The dangers
They don't
of the
even
telephone.
care.
I heard you get
Like,
radiation from the
literally,
ear.
They don't even give a shit about what they're
like
doing.
self-driving cars can be hacked. Like cars that aren't even self-driving can be hacked remotely. Like the
I know,
idea
right?
that we're going to rely on technology that can be like
I know.
impacted negatively from outside actors is really, really dangerous. Like it's actually a problem.
I know, right? As systems gets more complex, obviously there becomes more weak points in them, right?
Yeah.
But as we do this, we also strengthen like the overall systems, right? We can afford to have more complex systems and have them like working like traffic lights, for example, right? It's crucial, right? Traffic lights fuck up, people crash into each other. Like just once they have to fuck up and people crash into each other, right? But no, it's a very complex system. I don't know if you've ever looked into this, but it's really fucking difficult to design traffic systems, right? If they fuck up once, people die. But we rely on this every single day. Like even as something as simple as like your car, right? You don't understand. That's a 2-ton metal box powered by explosions. And you get into that without even fucking thinking about it, right?
So
like
sick.
our systems get more and more complex all the fucking time, right? More and more dangerous all the fucking time. But so far, we haven't we got no Skynet, right? Terminators haven't risen up yet. So it seems to be going pretty well.
We're not going to have Terminators. That's not
exactly
the
right.
concern.
That's the thing. Right? The point is, things are getting more complex, things do get more dangerous, but we seem to be accommodating for that adequately with the development of technology.
Sort of adequately. I don't actually think we're doing enough necessarily. And I mean, not to reference Ghost in Shell, but like things can get pretty fucking wild, all right? Like all I'm saying is like you just get one bad actor, and like we've had traffic lights hacked. We've had situations where cars are hacked remotely. We've had situations.
Would you say we shouldn't have traffic lights then? You wouldn't say that?
No, I would say like traffic lights are fine, right? Because like it's a system, we can work on the system. Like we're talking about like a ton of variants in terms of cars, though, right? Like cars are like one traffic system in a city across the country. Like how many traffic lights are there in the country? I don't even know. Like what?
Exactly.
Like billions?
I mean, but the thing is here, wait. I really want to push
There's way
on
more
this because
cars.
there is like this attack on open source software, and I think that it's unfair to put the blame on open source software when a lot of times open source software is usually more secure. Most of the times that we've have these exploits are not because of the open source software. It is or the actual code developed. It's because programmers or people who are managers of this software, IT managers, they make a mistake. They don't upgrade. They don't follow the security rules. They don't change default passwords. It is human errors, not technology, not the open source software, that is causing the problem.
I mean, and that's fine. Like, regardless of where the problem comes from, regardless whether it comes from Amazon or open source or whatever, the idea of having something that's mobile in my house that can be remotely accessed is troubling.
Well, I'm fine with having like technology that is only released once it's properly secure, right? But it seems to me that the argument against this is there just seems to be this infinitely high ceiling of what we want to be secure. Like, not a single one can ever be hacked ever and
Yeah,
used against us. But the point is,
So-
like, in much the same way the traffic
It'd be like a
lights-
benefit, right? Like, the
But so- yeah,
benefit
but
has to
in much-
outweigh
in
the
much-
risk.
Yeah, exactly.
like,
right. So in much the
theoretically-
case with the
isn't
traffic
that
lights-
isn't that the
Let me
isn't that
finish
the
my point. Let me finish. So in much the same case with the traffic lights, right? We wouldn't just go, well, traffic lights, they've been hacked once. Like, we just can't trust them, man. We just can't trust them, right? We go, no, traffic lights are obviously a benefit to our society. In much the same case that having like a little robot that brings you drinks might be a benefit. It depends on the cost, right? I understand there's a ratio there, but if it's incredibly secure, no one can ever hack it. Yeah, fuck yeah. I want a little robot that brings me
That was,
drinks.
like,
That's my
completely
only
but
concern.
even like,
was-
let's say if there was a slight chance the robot could get hacked, I think it's up to you to determine if that robot is bringing you the benefit, like what you were just saying, Mad Lad. The benefits have to outweigh the risk. We all have devices, whether it's in our pocket or of the one I'm staring at the screen of right now, that could be hacked. You know what I mean? Like, and we all make the judgment call. I'm assuming all of us have computers and
I don't have
phones. We all
Well,
make the
okay,
judgment call.
but
have a
like
computer.
the point is
things
that this is all
you don't have none of
stationary
that. Yeah.
that we have physical
Well, okay,
control
other than
over.
Prime, but we all have these, so we've all decided that
But
to
there's a
some
leap,
extent.
right? Right. There's a
Out of
leap
that
when it
door,
starts
it's
getting the
just
mobile
woods. I live
Like-
in a cabin in the woods. It's just like bare woodland.
In the future,
That's just a green
no one's
screen
going to have
background.
computers in their homes. Like, everyone's just going to have terminals to connect to a server. I promise you. We're
So
going
like
back to that.
it's gonna be important, right? Because something like as a network engineer, right? I understand a little bit about some of this IT stuff, or I know a lot about the IT stuff, but specifically on the networking side and the way these things can communicate in order to have like a more secure server, right? So an example would be whenever I'm deploying something in any one of our locations or the company that I work at, where it's going to be touched or has the potential to be touched by guests, right? There's a big possibility that someone could hack something on these things, right? A way to limit that is we only allow this specific device to communicate to this specific server or device way over yonder. We utilize that through the various technology and everything, where it's not going to even open it up unless you fit these very specific and narrow parameters. Now, I did not go into Amazon Alexa or anything else before this, but I would imagine one of the most first things on their mind is the potential of their devices being hacked and becoming listening devices for nefarious individuals, because this is going to 100% validate a lot of the concerns that people have, and they're going to do it. But the way you can mitigate this, and I don't necessarily know if Amazon does this, right? But just from an IT perspective, is that you need to talk for all the communications specifically to this one server. If a website or a user tries to come in from the internet to try to speak to it, it doesn't listen to it. It only communicates to the things within its same IP range, because that's your home Wi-Fi, or specifically from this one Amazon server that's underneath millions and millions and millions and millions of layers of security, right? Where it's not going to be anything. Because in reality, this is all it needs to communicate to. The devices on your Wi-Fi and that Amazon server, right?
But
Everything
I
else,
think-
it doesn't
Sure,
have
like-
it doesn't have
so
to
like-
communicate
They
to
can
anything.
get
on.
into your network and then from there contact the server, right?
No, right. No, it's going to be on your network
No. I
because
mean,
it has to
an
connect.
attacker. An attacker could get
No,
within.
and what I am saying is built in onto that box. It's going to deny. Let me hold on. I think I see what you're
Yeah.
saying. If someone hacks into your computer and compromises your computer, and then starts doing performative action on there, that's going to be something different, right? And I agree that is a risk. However, I don't even think that's
more
really
concerned about
necessary.
that. Like an irate
I don't think that's
neighbor
even
who
really
is, like-
necessarily easy to do from the get. With
I mean, no,
Microsoft.
like I don't know if you guys have heard stories of like people downloading stuff off of like other people's networks. Like, it's very common actually for people to use your internet to steal things.
But again, these are
You're not
because-
getting you're
But
not
that's
you're
not
not
something
getting
that
past
already
But this-
exists, though.
And this
It's
is not a
something that's in your.
this is not a technology problem. Actually, most hacking that we think of is actually social engineering, and it has nothing to do with actually
true.
breaking in through technology. There are. I'm not going to say again. I'm not going to say that technology is bulletproof, because if you watch literally one panel from DEF CON 0, which is a hacker conference in Las Vegas that happens every year. I can't make that claim, but most of the time it's because people leave default passwords on. How many people here have changed the default password on their admin account for their router?
Of me, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sure
So
Salsa
literally-
too.
Password admin. Login admin.
So I'm sure, and I'm sure
100%
a
secure.
ton of the people in the chat here didn't even know that was something that you were supposed to do when you get a router. Even when you get a router from your ISP, it does not come configured. It comes configured with the default password.
Gotta change that shit.
They expect the users to do that, and that actually takes some level of technical understanding that is probably beyond most lay people. Your parents. Try to get your parents to change the default password on their router, okay? For the admin account. Let's see who can do it, okay? I will give you $10 if it takes you less than an hour, okay? If your parent is over the age of 40 and does not work in tech.
No, I was gonna say the beautiful part about that, right, is because like I moved into a brand new building. We had all brand new IT equipment and everything installed here. It's all fiber and everything. Miami, right? But they don't have default admin passwords anymore. It's all unique, like crazy ass characters and all like the whole freaking like whatever the hell it is, right? And so you don't even get to pick anymore. And because they understand, it's the same reason why the password requirements on websites used to be 6 characters. And now all of a sudden they're 8 characters. Now they're 12 characters. And you have to have so many specials and you can't use 1, 2, 3, 4 anymore, right? It's because they're exactly right. It's like they're trying to work against, like, users are dumb. Right, so you have to protect against them, right? Like as we call like a layer.
Yeah, Sam.
Wait, hold on.
On modern routers, like the default is like on like a sticker on the router itself. So then once you reset it, you just have to look at the sticker. So yeah, that's what they do.
Yeah, but you understand. That's
like
the
if
problem,
you have physical
right?
compromise.
Yeah, you understand that's like I can just like go to your house and like get like that's the issue is that like it is the default. If you don't get to pick what the number is, then it is by definition a default password. Like,
when someone says default, they mean like I can go to a website, look at Linksys 520 routers, and I can see the default password shipped from factory is the username is admin and the password is that, as opposed to the username is admin and the password is a random string of characters that's automatically generated, thrown on a sticker, installed onto the router, and sent to your home. Right? Well, I can't guess.
Yeah, and usually what I'm talking about is I'm not talking about your Wi-Fi password, like the password you put in for your Wi-Fi to go into your thing. I'm talking about actually logging into your router through a web browser and your actual admin. Because that, if you can get into that account, you can do so much on someone's network. You can control whether they can see devices. You can hide devices that can see every other device on the network. You can do a bunch of other shit that is probably a lot more scary than like them getting onto your network or stealing your internet. So
and
like again, these things are
and is already pretty fucking scary. So it's like that's kind of the point that I was trying to make with the sacrifice or the reward that we get from the technology that we already use compared to the dangers that are there. Maybe, and you could argue maybe people don't know the dangers of like owning a computer, having all your personal information on it, and not having it secured properly. So like. I feel like that's always going to be a question, but most of the technology is pretty benign. Like I would love a little robot that rolls a joint for me, breaks down the weed and everything. Like I just have to shove fucking joint papers and weed into that shit, and it just
bought 2000.
Joint bought 2000, just fucking perfect joints every time.
That device already exists.
No.
Dude, if I can have a robot. If you can have
he has
a robot
to walk to get the weed.
Yeah, but he
doesn't want to walk to get the weed.
It's not as easy as I explained it though. Like
it recognizes his face and rolls the joint specifically.
I'm sure people like.
I already have a joint rolling machine.
Wait, hold on. For everybody's other side, I will be a little bit concerned if I'm walking around. I had a bad day, and my robot goes, "New salsa, you look a little sad. I'm gonna make you a joint right now." This normally cheers you up, and it does that on its own.
That sounds fucking awesome. What are you talking about? What the fuck? I get home, I'm having a fucking shitty day from work. My fucking robot joint
guarantee you,
imagine you come home
cussing myself out. Like, you know, this is fucking awesome.
Like,
Imagine you
listen,
come home and your robot
and I see you're a
spins
little
around
stressed,
and
so I rolled
runs,
you a
and it
joint.
tells your wife, new salsa's, your husband's upset, leave him alone. Leave him alone. Your dad's upset, leave him alone. Give him space.
Instead of telling your kids to not go into the room when dad turns off the lights and pours a glass of scotch, you know, it'll be like the AI goes and says, "Hey kids, don't fuck that." Like, I'm telling you, you don't want to go in there. Okay, if you don't want a black and blue eye, don't go in there. Okay.
So here's the issue, right? Is that like if a robot can literally roll weed for me, the reason that nobody's ever overdosed on weed is it takes like you have to smoke 3 times your body weight within like a very short time span. I might pull it off, and that would be bad. So I'm also opposed to a robot that
just keeps rolling joints.
Good way to go.
Hey, Dad, I say great time.
Thank you, Astro.
Right? Thank you for Astro.
Astro, are you American? Can I
I'm
take
sorry,
you?
having full-blown conversations with your little AI robot, like that sounds awesome.
Astro, right? Like they'll just like release all sorts of like.
I've been monitoring your neural activity today, and I've determined you need to smoke 17 joints.
This is the future.
So I rolled them for you.
This is the future to get anime cat girl waifus. Okay.
Yeah. So unironically, I think it's going to be the same way that it is for cell phones. For the people that are been around, like are old enough to remember fucking cell phones, right? When they started being adapted, not everybody and their mother had one, or if they had one, a lot of people did not text with them, right? Because for various reasons, some of them, I don't want the government knowing everything that can cause me radiation, or they just weren't convenient enough at the time, right? They go, I have a beeper, or I'm just going to go home. I have an answering machine. You're going to call me, or I'm seeing my caller ID that you're going to call me, and I'm going to call you back. It's not that big of a deal, right? But now we recognize in life, and sometimes we even argue that internet access, because of your ability to reach out to people, is a human right, where it's just like, it's such like a needed thing. Like Astro is obviously not going to be the first iteration. I think home butlers of this type of magnitude, once they become like more like I'm going to be hard pressed if for $1,000 or $2,000 that you have a robot that can like literally cook for you, right? Maybe it'll cook for you. Maybe it'll set up something, and that people are gonna be like, "Oh, this convenience. I still care about my privacy too much."
What is this gonna do to the butlering industry? That's something we need to be concerned about.
You're taking the butlers away from the bourgeoisie, and you're putting up. There's no more Hassans, right? It's now us.
I mean, like it would be less butlers and more like fast food workers, right? Or like cashiers. Like a lot of the stuff this is actually something that's happening. Like there's a fully automated, like was it a Taco Bell that's fully automated now that they're.
It would be less butlers, more sex bots. Let's get real. All right, that's like that's what we're really going for. And once we've done that, there's literally once we've achieved sex bots, there's literally no reason for mankind to innovate anymore. We've achieved it, a pinnacle. That's it.
I mean, they won't innovate anymore. They'll be too distracted.
It's gonna be like fucking the Rick and Morty episode, the Gazorpazorp. Like they just all the men are gonna be hanging out the sex bots, and then that's everyone else is gonna be like, all right,
that's the sex bots are the end of history. I'm telling you that right now. But no, look, I don't like this narrative that like the people on my side, the correct side, are like anti-technology or anything like that. Like I embrace new technologies. I just understand.
No. Prime, you would have been back in the day.
You embrace technology in your time. You embrace technology in your time. Your age is showing Prime.
There's no regulation over who gets to drive these cars either. Yeah, the horse and the buggy, that's the true mode of transportation.
Exactly. See,
train, okay? Train.
Listening in on the telegram
trains should be trains should be the mode of transportation. Everybody, we should have trains. Trains are awesome. Trains are sick.
Trains are not
Love
that
trains.
great. Trains are horrible. I hate
them. Do you actually have to like go anywhere on a regular basis?
Yes, I live in a city, and I don't have a car.
I live in a city.
I don't have a car.
I live in a city, and the fucking train line don't come out here. The bus line does.
But we need.
Hold on.
Have you been on a
bus?
Like the United States specifically designed its infrastructure around like what the car industry wanted, right? Like,
Yeah, and if we don't like fix trains in cities, which we need to do, like Florida's going to be underwater. Like property values are always like are already like declining there because of this. Like it's not good, dude. Like yeah, trains are based. What are you talking about? Like it's also cheaper for everybody in the long term. Like if you just not own a car.
So
hold on, wouldn't
it-
it be cheaper in the long term for everybody if everybody just like you? Because like what is the whole thing that Elon Musk was creating, right? Where it's like the idea you don't use your car the vast majority of the time you own it, it sits in your garage. So if you have like some sort of carpool where you come in and your car like picks you up, right? You're like, all right, I'm done by, and or a car or a city provided car, maybe public transportation, city provided car, but it just goes automated and picks everybody up because like
Sure, but that's just a train.
No. Like
no. But it picks you up and drops you off at your house because I'm in Miami.
That's just a really cool train.
I hate the fucking train.
That's fair.
I hate the fucking train that from Miami takes me to Brickell, like in like 2 hours away, or like
it's because your infrastructure was designed poorly. It has nothing to do with.
This is just.
No, but there can't be a train bus stop every train stop like every like the train
what
stop.
if there could be? Literally, the only wait. What Elon Musk is selling you is the idea that a train stop could be everywhere. That's all he's doing, and you think you're like, oh my god. Guys, it's a car, but it's just. What if we just made trains better? What if we just made trains better? Sorry, I don't know. This is like a topic we can talk about all night. This is like has nothing to do with the goddamn.
No, but they would have to be cars.
But the thing is,
the road.
So,
like,
but hold on.
But
your average individual who has no power over how the buses operate and like the fucking quality of the buses. What the fuck? Of course, I'm gonna get a car, especially like because BART doesn't come out to my area. So like, how the fuck am I gonna use the train to get to where I need to go? I need a fucking car.
We're simply saying we're simply saying that if you let the government spend more money on trains, you can like get where you need to go. Like
well, I'm all for the government spending more money on trains. I'm just saying trains right now are not a viable solution for most people.
But like it provides people
so this whole idea, like I get it. It's very nice
like,
to have
have
an idea like of civilization without cars and like, oh yeah, let's get rid of the cars and all buses and trains. Yeah. That's let's work towards that. I vote Democrat too. But like at the same time, that's not the world we live in. So like in the meantime, we got to advocate for more realistic solutions, which is buy a car that's better on gas mileage or is electric, but even better.
Okay, but those
are becoming real.
So a few things here, if I can just finish. Like it provides more economic mobility for people because you can move more places if you don't have to add an extra expense of buying a car to get like started in a new like city, right? And you want economic mobility for people because that's just good for markets and like labor, frankly, for firms. In addition to that.
I'll have you know, by the way, while Spectre's looking this up.
So I'm not against.
Joe Biden used trains extensively his entire life, and we should be just like the president.
Okay, but like it's you're gonna have
transportation.
But
you're advocating for technology that's old as hell. Joe Biden over there running.
No. We're saying that you can improve it and that it has lower carbon emissions due to the fact that you're literally getting rid of like cars, right? And you're also creating jobs in an industry that lowers like carbon emissions. Like this could be part of a climate change package.
Yeah, now we wouldn't have to lay down asphalt because we'd have rails everywhere. That was actually serious. Like,
wait. We could use asphalt.
Why would? I guess
so I agree that we should. And again, I just said I vote Democrat, and I vote for the more socialist policies when they come around in my city, the great liberal city of San Francisco. Yet like it doesn't seem to happen. And so, well, fuck me as an individual over here, I had to make the other decision, and that's to buy a car that's not from the 90s and fucking gets 10 miles to the gallon, but gets way better than that. You know what I mean? And that's what I've done personally, I guess, to cut down on my CO2 whatever emissions. But like, yeah, what can you expect? I don't know. I just don't, I think like this is great, but it's so virtue signaling.
I mean, I think
it feels virtue signaling when people when we talk about this because it's like, yeah, of course. But
Big Automotive is trying to silence Spectre. That's why he keeps dropping. Okay, Big Automotive is trying to silence Spectre.
It's true.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
It's actually the AI.
That's because he didn't change his
Spectre's house that he's not even aware of it.
No, way simpler than that. He didn't change the password from admin on his router.
That's what was.
He's like, I didn't know how to do that. How
You've
do I
been
change the
hacked.
advertisement? I didn't know that's a
How do we
thing.
go from data to trains?
Hacker
I'll give
glasses.
you
But, like,
actually.
real quick,
How do we get to
here's
trains?
this
We should
is the
probably-
reality. This is, I just want to say this one last thing on the train and the car thing, right? I feel like this is not advancing into the future, because if I was gonna ask you which one would be more convenient, if something were to take you from point A to point B without stopping the entire time, you're obviously going to say point A to point B without stopping the entire time, right? If we can have it with a system with modern technology, right, AIs and whatever, it doesn't have to be a driver, it doesn't have to be anything. It's just a public transportation system that utilizes roads, batteries, right, and it takes you from point A to point B directly without having to stop 1,000 times. That's going to be a concern, right? You're going to get there faster. You're going to
I
enjoy
guess
that
if you
much
take
better.
away all the nuance past getting from point A to point B, then
I mean,
yes,
like,
I would agree with you.
If you eliminate all manual drivers, there's no nuance there. Nothing has to stop. You could just do that like fucking iRobot thing where all the cars just go through the intersections because the AIs understand the speeds and the velocities of everything.
But then you
going
go
through,
manual
and
mode
get
when
that
you
through.
need to get savage. You know what I mean?
Yeah, then you
When you're
it's
chasing
like,
robots, yeah.
which is honestly the reality that we are going to through. This is going to be our grandchildren are going to be running around this and like, Grandpa, you can't drive anymore. It's like, fuck you, right? I want my automatic car like we had back in the days where I had to drive. This was nice.
Fuck that, I'm gonna get a horse.
Spectre,
yeah.
you were trying to say something,
Horses.
and then
Oh, we moved past it. No,
Okay.
It's fine.
sure. So, were you guys talking about the Hyperloop? Is that the thing that?
No.
Hold on.
no.
What if
No.
Hyperloop gets hacked? Then what? What if the train
So
crashes
I-
into
All
each
those
other?
people are stuck.
I missed it then.
Well,
I
the good
didn't
thing it's
know,
on a rail
like what
and
Elon
not
Musk
like
was
going
selling. You
off
said
the
something
rail.
It
about
could
like
crash into another train.
Dude,
right?
I
So
don't-
you want
I
train
I don't
crashes?
want to have to buy
What
a
if cars
Tesla.
crash into each other, though, guys?
Yeah.
What if they crash into each other? I don't know if this car thing is really like what
Yeah.
we should be
Same
doing
argument.
and
No,
thinking
I-
about.
Not the same thing. Like,
Horses
there's a
actually-
difference between having something on a
Horses
track
can
I'm talking
see
about
each
and
other.
AI
having
driving.
a
Horses
robot
already
driving
got
around
it.
your
Another
house.
horse.
There's
Okay,
a
we know
huge
horses can do
difference.
this.
There's a huge difference
Ever seen
between
horses
having a
crash
little
into each
fighter
other?
thing
No.
that's gonna like eat your
Horses don't do
leg
that.
when it gets hacked. All right, like it's completely
Okay.
different. It's two different
So-
things.
Okay, horses
to
don't do
answer
that.
to answer
Horses can
Prime's question before I have to go, unfortunately. But to answer Prime's question before I go, Elon Musk was basically talking about a future where everybody was driving self-driving level 5 automated cars, and in that world, you don't actually own your car. You basically summon a car with your phone. The car comes to you automatically, and then drops you off where you need to go. You don't drive at all. You hop in a car that's not yours, and you go somewhere else. Otherwise known as a single passenger train. It's
or a
crazy.
taxi, or a taxi.
To be fair,
Or a
to be
taxi.
fair, this
Yes.
future is scary because if you think about it, the government can actually hijack the car and
Yes.
bring
Oh
you
my
to
god.
whatever
Okay.
jail.
Goodbye.
Exactly.
I want to get back into the whole like
Exactly.
you're critiquing governments, not technology, but like
no, but that's the
what it is.
same thing. That's the thing that kills me. That is the same thing. That's yes, the human side, just as you talked about. The human
Sure,
side.
I would
gets
agree.
hacked.
Wait, I would agree with you, but specifically, the technology is really cool. That's all I'm saying. If in a perfect world, it would be
The
really
point
cool.
is- the
Yeah,
point
but so
is,
these
right,
arguments
I've made
shouldn't
this-
be
I've
like
made
if
this point.
Astro is inside the
Haven't even
house.
did
The,
say-
the arguments
I-
need to be if the government is ready for Astro to be inside the house.
My
Right?
like I've made this point.
And you can
like,
you can argue that no. Like I think it's
like,
a fair argument.
like
Can
the
we,
ridiculous extent, right?
can
Like,
we
you
actually
can
go
make
back
this-
to something that
Spoon's
was saying
talking.
earlier?
Spoon's
Okay.
talking.
Right, you can make this point about any technology ever, right? What if we have the technology, but that technology is then used badly? Ooh, wouldn't that be scary, right? This is an argument
Oh my
against
I love this, man.
literally
You
all
cut me off
technology.
with this, by the way.
Right?
This is your
This is-
punishment.
I'm gonna.
Right, this is literally an argument against all technology.
you
What
know
if? Hold on. What if we have horses to draw the carts, but then the horses kick us? What have we thought of that?
The government makes the horse kick
Have we,
us.
What if we have hammers?
what if a man comes along and he hits the horse and the horse
What
kicks
if we
you?
have hammers
What
and
if
then
it's
I
who's
use
wrong?
them on someone's skull? Yeah, right. I don't know. The British maybe.
Silly,
But like,
like-
I just like yes, we get that. Yes, we understand that tools are double-edged, right? Sure, but that doesn't mean that just because that all of them have a double edge means that each of those risks are equal, right? And each of those drawbacks are worth taking on, right? We can tell you, and you know this, like I don't know, like you're fucking with me. I know you're fucking with me because you know all this.
But like
No,
I think to be
I did
fair,
answer this
Sneaky's-
point. I did already answer this point that like it's about like the ease of access, not the ease of access. Sorry, barrier to entry. Like who can access the fucking face cam on the robot and like how secure the network is. And like I said, we're keeping up with this, right? We can handle horses, right? Horses didn't overtake the population. The government didn't start a horse uprising. Cars. They've been working for ages, man. I don't know what to tell you. Traffic lights are going great. The internet seems to be going quite well so far. We don't have a pandemic of everybody getting hacked and their fucking asses exploding from remote controlled butt plugs. Okay,
But actually, everybody.
That's true. I haven't
Everybody
heard
is
about
getting
that one
hacked,
yet.
though.
What are
They
you?
would figure
What are
that
you?
one out.
What are
We're
you
doing fine.
talking about? Everyone,
that was in chat. It was in chat earlier.
literally
No.
everyone is getting hacked, though. Like that's
Yeah,
what's
everyone
happening.
is getting hacked.
Like,
Like,
have
our
you not-
information's
Oh,
out
hold on,
Getting hacked.
hold
Please
on.
don't
If we're
try.
gonna,
Please don't try.
wait.
Facebook,
If we're gonna use the term hacked, we have to be careful, right?
You mean
'Cause
people
there's-
are falling into
because
scams?
no, hold on, no,
That's
because there's a little bit
No.
wait, there's a little bit of difference when you're talking about data breaches or like let's say like a large organization's getting hacked because they 100% get attacked every day. You as an individual, no one cares about you, right? It's hard to say, but like they're not going to hack your individual thing unless I don't know, maybe you're a super attractive woman on Instagram, you're a celebrity, you're a billionaire. There's a reason to hack you. But if I'm just driving down the street, I'm not going to pick this random house with this random people and say I'm going to hack them and do all this stuff because like one, there's an assload of information I just don't even have in order to be able to hack you. Like to be honest, right? So it's just like it's. Is it a concern that hacks are there and they happen? Yes.
Yeah.
Is it a concern for us average folk? No.
Also, to repeat
Nodding
Sam's
his
point
head,
earlier.
like understandingly, when
To-
talking
to
about
repeat-
millionaires getting hacked.
To repeat, because I'm a millionaire. To repeat Sam's point earlier, like most hacking is social engineering anyway. So have you ever seen those things on Facebook and it's like, oh man, where did you have your first kiss? Answer with that in the comments, right? And like these are like security questions and stuff like that. That's how you get hacked, right? It's social engineering. It's not like Hacker Man puts his fucking glasses on and he's like, I'm in, right? It's not how it works. It's people that
Boy,
change their
cookies.
fucking password.
Like the
Right.
super obvious one that people may not understand, right? Is like there's two of them, right? Is like, hey, don't plug in random USBs that you'll know, or you wonder why your work computer, depending on your job, doesn't allow USBs. Is because of that reason. That's the easiest way to get hacked. A hacker puts a bad program on a USB, drops a USB somewhere inside, like a place that they know that Amazon workers. Yeah, the Amazon workers frequent, and then they pick it up, they plug it in, and then you can compromise that. Or the second one is like don't click random things or like random PDFs and files inside of emails that get sent from addresses you don't trust, because that's another way to enter, right? Those are those social engineering things that they go into to
Spectre, this link
compromise.
is from you, right?
I've hacked PrimeCayes premium Pornhub account. I'm in.
No, he just figured out my password, Wet and Wild Spoon.
Yeah.
But
The government is coming. That's my password.
Okay, but that's but these are the issues. Like, you're saying that like the humans are the vulnerability. We can acknowledge that, right? You're gonna say the governments are the problem. Okay, acknowledge. And what is the tool? Like, what is the the favorite tool of like the villain, right? Of like the chainsaw murder. Well, it's a chainsaw, right? Take the chainsaw away from him, then like he might still try to kill you, but he'll have to use some other methods not so good with. Like, we don't want to give these people. This is a bad analogy. Please ignore that one. Please ignore that one. That's
Okay,
bad.
good.
That's really terrible. But like,
Good.
yes, that's right. Shut up. It was a bad analogy. I'm sorry. Look, all right. Fuck.
Clip it,
Chainsaw?
ship it, dip it. All right.
I've done like a fucking billion of these on here.
The reason you can't make a good example is because all of these things have like a use, right? And like I said, as long as these things are like secure and regulated, and like the barrier of entry to like access like warrants to view cameras in your house and shit is high, it's fine. It's how all
They're not
technology works.
necessarily high. They're not necessarily high. This is discretion.
It should be high. That's the
It
issue.
should be
The issue
high.
is not the
It
technology.
should be high, but they're not high, and you just leave up to any individual judge's discretion, right? Like, and what if it's like a secret warrant, right? Because we do that here in the States, and you don't even get to find out like what evidence caused that a warrant, right? Did the government actually even have any evidence? Like we have here in the States, the FISA courts, right? Where the evidence is presented to the government. I believe it's the FISA courts. Evidence presented to the government for like terrorist cases by a prosecutor, but there's no one on the other side, right? It's just like them talking to a judge, and I think there's some like vague representative of the people, but like they just keep handing out these warrants. They just keep doing it, right? Are they having any actual evidence? Is it meeting the standards that we expect? Who the fuck knows? You're not there. So they respond to this warrant, and you don't get to know about the warrant. You don't get to know what's in the warrant. You don't know any of that,
like
and they
all-
have that
everything,
information.
though. This is the case with like everything. If the government like wants to come into your house, they will. They will, right? They'll find a way to get in your house. They'll make a warrant. They'll do that. Like just because it's like slightly easier due to technological advantages, like doesn't mean that the government
Why
won't always
lower
have
the
this
barrier
power.
of entry for them?
Well,
Why
you're
lower
not,
the barrier
right?
of
So,
entry?
like I said,
Why make it easier?
it's not.
I
It's not
don't-
what I'm
I don't-
advocating for because well, one, right, lowering the barrier of entry. One, because it brings benefits to our lives, and two, I'm not advocating we lower the barrier of entry.
No, you are.
I'm saying that barrier of entry needs to raise with the like the
No. I'm saying the other way around. In terms of
serious-
inviting more vectors, like putting more vectors in which they can.
Yeah, but like I said, I answered this earlier, right? Like, just as systems get more complex, I think there are more ways to compromise said system, but we seem to be in such a position that we are developing adequate security to deal with our
No,
like
you're missing
more-
it. No, you're missing it. You're missing all of this, right? You're saying that we've gotten to some like, and where is your like base of knowledge to say this? Like that we've gotten some equilibrium of security that we can deal with all these things. No, that's not how it works. There are
Because, like,
vulnerabilities.
Are you listening to that
There
accent?
are zero.
I think generally speaking, like the world, or at least like the global north, is more secure now than it has been.
What does that
previously, so
mean?
if
You're
anything,
just
it's getting
saying
better.
that. What does that mean? Explain.
What it means
Sounds
if the
really
government
good,
wants to
though.
come and kick
Secure-
your door down.
secure
in the wild-
for
if,
who?
like, if like the sheriff wants to come and kick your door down in the wild west, he just fucking will, right? You can't do that nowadays, right? It's more difficult. If maybe it's too easy, but it's still more difficult.
Yes, they don't do that, and that's worse. They don't want to be not breaking down your doors because then you can videotape them. The neighbors have cameras, right, and they can watch them, and they could be on the news. What's not going to be on the news is if they access your smart TV, right, and access the audio, the audio on your smart TV, right, that you use to give it commands, right. Samsung TV, like show me Netflix or whatever. Like I don't have a smart TV
I have one of
because
those.
these are, yeah, right. But
I do.
but that's exactly what they did. They actually did that. They hacked those, and they hacked Google, right? This was the thing. We found this out. They hacked Google and they access their servers, right? They access information through their network. All these things. And Google, you can't say Google has like their admin passwords, okay? Right? Default admin passwords. We get that. Google,
Yes,
the top
I know,
top
but again, like
they were hacked.
historically, this has always been the case, right?
But
Like,
beyond that,
yes,
I'm not even.
systems get
But that's
compromised.
not. That part's not important though. Even beyond the importance, right? Because as we've all acknowledged, those are subpoenas that they will respond to those subpoenas. So if you give them the data, then they are going to respond. They're going to give in. I'm done.
Yeah, but like this has always happened, right? So, like systems have always been compromised. It's just how it works, right? But the point is, like, we don't have this like rampant thing to the point where it's actually like affecting the individual's life. Like it really doesn't most of the time.
How
Like,
do you know?
like you like for example, like Twitch got hacked, right? This was like 3 days ago or something, right? Like, right? Has this actually materially impacted your life at all? Right? Did someone get your password and they've been like stealing your like Twitch bucks? Like no.
I
no, it's like-
changed
I am
all my passwords
I
for
am
everything.
a Twitch streamer. Twitch has my personal information.
yes.
If that gets out, and because the
it?
hacker, no,
That's the question. Did it?
no, the hacker implied that this was part one. That this was part one. So we don't know what they have. So it is a possibility.
Hold on.
But-
If I was a hacker and I had access to like Prime's routing and account number that he gets paid out for, you know what XQC's routing account number that he gets paid out for. You know what the last thing I'd say when I announced the first part of my hack? Hey, I have all of their fucking banking information. Like we don't know. Like the
This hasn't
vulnerability
happened.
that was taken
Never
advantage of
happened.
could have been used to get like other information
This-
about payouts.
this
This is
hasn't
not good.
happened.
but
this
it
hasn't happened, right? Historically, this is like just not the case. Like generally, these hacks do not impact like the average person. Like, do you
Well,
remember ages ago,
no. The credit card numbers were found, like PS3 hacks. Like
I was going
this
to say,
is
like back in like the PS, like when the PlayStation was hacked in like 2007 or something like that, and it was like a teenager or something like that. Like this, it didn't really affect like barely anyone, did it? Like, yes, there was a hack, yes, there was a data leak, but barely anyone was affected. For the massive, I'm going to sound a bit cringe right now, for the massive utility that we garner from having these things, like the slight infraction that happens when like a hack 1 in a million times is successful is like nothing. It's nothing at all.
Yeah, just 77 million users. Like all their payment information is accessed during the PlayStation hack. Not that many. It's fine. Like,
Yeah, but,
Well,
like,
but how
many of
about
these
during
people were
the
affected?
the
How do you
How many of
know?
these
Equifax
people were actually
hack?
affected?
Oh, Equifax.
Experian.
Yeah.
Experian. Thank you. Like that. What about that? That
That sucks.
was fucked up.
Yeah.
I mean,
How
I
many
don't know.
people
I mean,
actually got
you know,
affected?
people make mistakes, y'all.
I mean, if everybody just wants to like,
I'm a lefty. I like forgiving people.
What
if somebody
Oh, that's just me.
if somebody wants to hack like the credit rating business like bureaus and just reset everyone's credit to 0 or like 700, whatever, like that's fine.
Mr.
I don't give a
Robot.
shit.
Yeah. That's the reference.
It'd be the only time that I'd be like, yeah, I don't know.
Like fight clubbing it, basically.
It's
Yeah,
because
it's not like-
a lot of the
it's
way
not
this data is stored, right, isn't actually stored in a way that humans can necessarily access it, right? Like if you're doing your due diligence and you're doing it well, you're not storing your passwords or your routing information, all this banking information, everything in a way that humans, if they were to able to obtain it, they'll be able to decipher it, right? It's all hashed out, and like computer algorithms, like they take that information and they know what it is because of the crazy ass algorithms and everything that they run under. But it's not a way for like humans to actually uncover that information if the companies are doing well. Now there are but there are requirements, right, that the government does enforce because of this, like for credit card information and everything else like that, where they do the inspections and they do check on these things.
That's
right.
that's
like
reactionary. Those are reactionary.
Well, like enforcing. Like
and the government, like,
no, it's not reactionary as in, hey, this company was hacked, now the government's coming in to inspect it. It's, hey, these are the rules for you to hold this type of information. Don't do that. That's not reactionary.
No. I know the rules. I know what you're talking about. I know exactly what you're talking about. Like I did work on this, right? But like, it's not as if the government inspect every single payment system there is out there. No. They don't. No, you are compliant, right? Like you are assumed to be compliant with these things until you're not. Until you're not, and when you find out you're not, is when you've already been hacked, when you've been breached. That's when they know you're not compliant.
Right. So I think we can agree here, right? It seems to be that if let's say, like, I think Sam asked this originally, like let's pretend like if there's no hacking and everything and there's none of that stuff as a possibility, or you can fund it where it's an extremely minimal or impossible or extremely small amount, that we're in agreement like the technology is fine, right? So it doesn't have to be any disagreements. It seems to be with the technology, or the technology factually being inside your house, it's the vulnerabilities attached to it. And if we want to fix that, right, because we as regular individuals can't hold corporations responsible outside of our vote with your wallet. So we would have to petition our representatives and our senators and those people in order to force these companies to be more complicit and to empower them. Like it seems like that would be the main argument.
I'll say one other thing. Yeah, I want to say here, Spectre, I have to say. I just want to say one quick thing on the payment thing, right? I forget there's a standard he's talking about. Our friend New Sauce is talking about a standard for payment systems, right? Like you have to get certified for those for that standard, right? To have met it, you get certified. I worked for a company that did one of those things, is that certify people. But if there is a human error, or you make a configuration change, or I don't know, all kinds of things that go wrong, right? Then you are out of standard or out of certification, and you'll find that out the hard way. Sorry, but Spectre.
Right. So my issue here is that I guess what I would prefer, if we're going to be like petitioning senators, like for the government to do, is put more safeguards on like what data is stored in like these databases. And yeah, I also think that one way to make it secure would be, as Sam said, more open source kind of development, and also decentralized data distribution. But I don't feel like that's incentivized by private companies. And as we know, like the government is going to push for access to databases, so they're not incentivized to put like limits on them. We saw this with not really databases, but like with the iPhone, where they tried to get Apple to basically give them a backdoor into a locked iPhone because they couldn't figure one out. So they wanted to be able to use that, like when they got warrants and stuff. So it's just things like that where I don't feel like the incentive structure is such that this technology is going to be used to actually help private people as much as it is going to be used by the state to, invade our privacy.
So, can I get clarification on something? Like, so for me, my concern with the technology is such that I would not personally get the technology, but I wouldn't want the technology banned. Is there anyone here arguing for the technology to just not be allowed whatsoever? So, Prime, you want it to be completely outright banned?
No, I shook my head saying no. I
Oh,
don't.
oh, okay, all right.
I think it should be. I think it should be more heavily regulated, like what
Okay.
is selected by the technology, maybe.
But like,
I totally agree with that. I find it hard. I think that technology companies are almost better. They're not only better suited, but they need to be regulated themselves a lot because the government is so fucking far behind on like regulating social media companies, for instance. And that's like, I have a very, yeah, it sounds great. Would love the government to regulate more and do more stuff that I agree with, but like they're not. And fuck, so we're almost reliant on these companies like not taking our data and doing nefarious things with it. And so like I do like the law in California, I think that came out, that about your privacy and all that. And I think Apple's doing a decent job with making all apps you have to give permission to, and making it more transparent what you're really agreeing to. So like I think technology companies are responding. Whether they're responding as fast as we like, or with the exact innovations that we like, is a different question. But
Yeah, I know, to speak a
I
little, something that caught me off guard and surprised me a little bit is I lived in Las Vegas, right? I lived in Las Vegas and then I moved to Miami. But when I moved to Las Vegas, I was still living in Las Vegas when Apple started pushing out their more secure software where they're like, we're not going to allow anything unless the user gives it permission, right? When I moved to Las Vegas, I moved to Miami. I had an Instagram account. I had one this entire time, but I was using it like very infrequently. When I got to Miami, I did not let Instagram or Facebook, because they owned Instagram, know where I was. I denied all that access and location and everything. It took like well over, like, I think it took like a year and a half for Instagram to finally stop sending me Las Vegas advertisements and to switch over to Instagram, or switch over to Miami. And that's maybe because I took one too many pictures, or I did allow GPS functionality for a period of time. Right. So it like, granted, right, I'm not in favor of let's just trust Apple to do the right thing, or these companies to do the right thing. But it definitely seems that, especially nowadays time, right, that privacy and the importance of it is starting to become like reemerge into the limelight, and where companies are starting to add this as their, like, this is their a selling point, right? Which I think is a good thing, right? More private stuff where it's like, hey, no one can get you now. Like, to honestly, that's a big reason why now, like, I never was an Apple fanboy, but if I were to ever leave Apple, I'm going to think second. This is privacy, and this element of Instagram and Facebook not knowing everything about me. I'm going to look at that a little bit closer.
Apple have been made by the EU. I don't know if this is going to happen in America, but they've been made by the EU to adopt the USB 3 charging port, which is really cool, because now they don't have that stupid shit where they have to sell their own charger and you have to go to them to buy the charger. But then again, they released the iPhone 13, and like it's impossible to repair unless you're Apple. Like, literally impossible to repair. Even if you get like 2 brand new iPhone 13s and like take one part out of one and put it in the other, no, it doesn't work.
That's
It's
crazy.
it's completely locked up.
What?
Only Apple can repair it.
Again, open source would be awesome for things like this. I'm just saying, like, it also goes back to right to repair, which I think that tech companies are against for very obvious reasons.
That's a good thing, though. We should have that. We should have right to repair.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Super agree, actually.
Yeah, actually, there's a big shift and technology companies to stop that, right? To keep you out of it and say, oh, you voided your warranty because you cracked this thing open. You didn't do shit, but like, um, I yeah, I don't know. Like, I think there just got to be a lot of case law to like reverse that, so that we have that freedom. But I don't know if it's going to happen for like an iPhone, right? I just don't know. It's going to be like a major push for that because most people like won't try. It's not like a car where people have the ability to do these things, right? Or to do most of these things. So like I don't know like who's going to make the major push so that you can have the right to repair a phone anymore. Like,
well, yeah, I mean, like the companies that the government is again like getting data from are like literally building it to where the phone breaks. So you're either going to have to pay them to repair it because it's completely closed, right? Or you have to buy a new phone from them. Like these are built. They've been caught with like batteries that intentionally, pretty much as far as we can tell, like go out after a certain period of time. Like yeah, it's we're the most capitalist country on the planet. Like nobody's getting out of the life here. So like it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to talk about waste, those little K cups, oh my God, they're delicious. But holy shit, the plastic, every single cup of coffee that you're creating is just this little cup, this little pod. Is that bad though? I don't know.
I can get.
Is it bad that you can't? Apple doesn't allow their phones to be repaired? Like, I just feel like maybe there's a lot of other industries that we should be going after right now.
Yeah, but I
Phones
don't know. I
are
guess
pretty bad. Like if you think about like the rare earth metals that are used to build the phones, like the amount of like, resources that are burned just because people want like.
Is that a lot in comparison to like? I don't know. I guess I'm thinking in comparison to like constructing cities, and new high skyscrapers and stuff like that, like, or farming, agriculture, or like.
I mean,
I don't know. I wonder.
You have to remember that like things like open source are like more secure because they also like identify more vulnerabilities more quickly because it's more decentralized. So.
Right. So like I think in terms of technology, so wait, were we comparing technology with like K-cup manufacturing? Was that like a thing at all, or?
I will say I like the McDonald's K-cups a lot.
Compare the waste because you're talking about waste.
Well, right. So like I think technology waste is like a huge problem. Like not just like the fact that we're constantly mining new rare earth metals to replace old technology, but also the fact that the technology gets trashed and goes to landfills and the earth is being poisoned by like just lithium batteries, et cetera, right?
I generally respond kind of poorly to arguments that include stuff like the earth is being poisoned because I feel like this is statements that doesn't really mean a lot.
No. Like I mean, like literally, the soil is
and like you're saying,
and we can't plant food in the soil. Is my point. Like literally
in the soil that we put trash in. But yeah, that makes sense.
I mean,
yeah, we're actually running out of
land to plant the crops. Like I'm not. I'm just asking.
Yeah, like, and I mean, like, once the stuff goes further down, we're talking about poisoning like the groundwater, right?
Yeah.
No, yeah, but I think like okay, so if you're talking about the mining industry,
like some sort of like
that strip mines the mountain and then has the wastewater running into the river that we all then drink from.
No, we're talking about like landfills, right? Like landfills.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's an actual problem. We need landfills.
It's a huge
problem. People put shit in their like. Holy shit! Try looking at like recycling. How awful recycling has been because people just throw everything into the recycling bin, and then it takes more energy to actually recycle them.
E-waste.
I'm not saying that we don't invest it towards it. I'm just saying let's look at the reality of it, and not be so.
No, I mean the reality is that e-waste and landfills is like way more dangerous than a lot of the other trash that is put in the landfills to begin with, and there's a lot of people who are actually getting poisoned by handling this trash. Like this is an active thing. I did not do any research on this recently, so it's kind of there's like some gray matter that's kind of fuzzy and not helping me with the point, but I assure you that e-waste in landfills is a big deal, and like the waste of our consumer capitalist culture in terms of wasting.
I'll agree with that last part, but that's like different than what I'm trying. What I'm trying to just like suss out right now is what's the bad part? Is it the bad part that the phone we don't allow the phone to be repaired. It like the iPhone 13, for instance, I believe they made it much harder to repair the iPhone. So like people, they have all these like
only
anti.
Apple.
Yeah, you should just
Repair-
let
Only Apple can repair it. Like it can't be
Yeah, only
repaired, like,
exactly. And so like, okay, so that's that. I could see that being an issue for people who want to repair their iPhones, but like, is it an actual issue in terms of environmental harm, or is it that people are stupid and they throw their fucking phones in the trash can instead of fucking recycling them at an e-waste site, which there are plenty.
I mean, the point I think is that like
if anyone can repair your phone, they can repair it
already
more.
regulated.
No. Listen, if anybody
You're not
can repair,
supposed to throw e-waste in the trash.
if
But people do it because they're stupid.
if anybody can repair your phone, then it'll be repaired more cheaply because it's competition, capitalism. Yay, right? Like that's the thing, and you'll be less likely to throw it out, and we'll have less waste.
I'm
and he's literally, let me finish.
Question.
He's literally, I'll tell you the bad part. He's literally saying that it poisons the soil, right? Like, so we are already running out of farmable land globally. One man owns the majority of it in the richest country in the world. Like, yeah, what could possibly go wrong? Like, it's not good. Like,
okay, so I'm going to say this sounds like Alex Jones gish galloping because I brought up something and now you're talking about the richest man in the world. Like I might not.
Okay, wait, hold on.
Totally agree. One man owns the land in the world.
He's not the richest. It's Bill Gates.
The shell, like the other thing is like how is the soil being poisoned? Like for example, if it's being poisoned by plastic, 3,000 years the soil can be used again, right? If soil is poisoned by rare earth metals, there's no system to remove the rare earth metals from the environment. It's just going to be there perpetually forever. It's like almost not quite as bad as nuclear waste, but pretty close to it, right? So like there's also like sustainability looking forward like thousands of years as well. That's the difference.
Sure. So again, though, I'm just asking like where our priorities should lie.
Just like
I think that Bill Gates owning most of the farmable land sounds like a bad thing. But not being able to send my iPhone to be repaired by anybody other than the Apple geniuses seems like a hashtag first world problem. I don't know. And like what I care about more is the fucking mining company that's letting their wastewater run off into the local water supply. That's an environmental disaster. But like we already regulate that people throw their e-waste into the correct e-waste bins and places. You're not supposed to throw your phone in the fucking garbage in the garbage can. So like I agree. People should be smarter.
Actually, what are the laws on that? Is that like a universal thing? Because I don't think that's actually a law that's like everywhere.
I guess it's not the biggest
maybe that's
issue.
fair. In California, that's definitely.
Can we not just fix like the mining companies issue and also like fix the right to repair issue? Like,
it might not be the biggest issue, but it's still like a substantive one. Like I think that's the point.
The right to getting your iPhone repaired at a different place,
like e-waste and like not being able to like things is like substantive issue. It might not be the biggest issue. It's not as big as like I don't know the industrial meat market, but you know it's still like a big issue.
Yeah, no, I can totally agree that e-waste is an issue. I'm just wondering how much fun. Like, okay, this feels like the plastic straws thing. Plastic straws are not the fucking problem. Okay, you know what the problem is with the plastic in the ocean? It's fishing. It's fishing. Plastic nets. You got all the fucking components in the shit. They just leave that shit out there most of the time. They don't give a fuck about bringing it back. If it snaps and they fucking leave it there, who fucking cares? There's no fine or anything that they have to fucking place. So like the big ocean patches of plastic, that's mostly fucking fishing. So we regulate fishing. Okay, cool. But like but the phones feel like the plastic straws. Like we're literally doing nothing. We're literally doing nothing. It's a literal. We're fucking actually taking a needle out of a haystack and saying we did something. Now you're not going to step on the needle. Well, it just feels like we're doing nothing.
Why is this a bad thing? Like I don't understand what. Like so, having paper straws isn't like the worst thing in the world, right? Like,
yeah, it's not a bad thing at all. Eventually, like we won't use plastic at all. We'll use like some kind of hemp product. But it's like
they're going to start using. Apparently, they're going to make straws out of pasta.
But I'm trying to say there's no reason that we can't do both, right? Like we can regulate fishing. And we can like maybe use a few less plastic straws so less turtles die. Like what's the false dichotomy here?
Here's the point that I'm trying to make. Right now we only have the political willpower to regulate fucking straws. And even then Republicans are going to laugh at you for trying to do that. Like
Yeah.
it's very hard to get the political willpower to get behind like most of the shit. We're gonna regulate the fishing industry. Like holy shit! It really feels like our efforts would be better spent somewhere else rather than the plastic straws and the iPhone 13 repairs.
I mean, if we're talking about like what's politically viable instead of like what we should do, like it's going to be a really boring panel because we all like know enough to know that yeah, you can't get much done right now, unfortunately. But yeah, like none of these are issues that like the larger electorate is even like thinking of, frankly.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
Are they not though? Like I don't know. The only reason I know any of the shit that I was telling you was because of Netflix bullshit that I watched. So
I
like,
don't think the average person
pretty-
really has a concern about right to repair because like the biggest thing isn't even necessarily about iPhones. I believe like the right to repair argument like was started, I believe like a long ass time ago, like with farmers, right? Like because farmers have like $1 million assets and tractors, and like they're not allowed to do anything, and they need John Deere and the tractor manufacturers to come and actually do stuff. So I think that's where the original like right to the repair argument like sprouted from. And it's like it's important, I guess, right? Like I think it's pretty crap if the idea like I was allowed to repair my computer that I purchased from a manufacturer, right? But it's like, and like in the grand scheme of things, I don't think it's like the right to repair, at least from a consumer level perspective, is really that big.
Yeah,
Unless they start doing crazy things. Like
and the
I
reason
don't know.
and the reason that it started with farmers, right, is because those tractors are basically giant computers right now that they can't go in and repair themselves, which is kind of absurd. That like, yeah, they do have like they're on the hook John Deere to basically come out and fix any like software things and update it.
I think it could be like how do you say, like I honestly like I would even take a compromise where if like a device is underneath the price of like $2,000 or some shit like that, where like computer individual manufacturers can repair those, but if the device is like astronomically large, like a tractor that's like can be worth north of $1 million, where it's just like, hey, you got it, there's too much shit here, like this, you can't nickel and dime these small businesses that way because they need these tractors to be competitive or something like that. Like I would even take a compromise like that just to give them the ability. Like I think right to repair is important. It's just like your individual iPhone isn't the most important part of this argument. So it's like for me,
Well, I mean,
it's just like,
I think that phones are like very important. I don't think that you can function in modern society like without a smartphone or some way to access the internet. So, yeah, I don't like the idea of a company being able to like hold that hostage for even profit. Frankly, I don't. I think it should just be required to be open source on everything.
so yeah, I mean, I definitely like I like the idea. Yeah, I think we got this law passed where now you can switch your phone to any carrier because it was ridiculous that you had a Verizon phone, you could only have it with the Verizon carrier service. So I definitely agree with stuff like that. I mean, like it sounds like a nice world, I guess, where I could go get my stuff repaired. Although me personally, like I go get my car repaired at the fucking the garage that I got it from. So like I personally am willing to pay a higher price to know that I'm getting it repaired by like the certified fucking people who work on these specific things all the time. Again, this comes back down to like, what are you willing to pay for your security? And I like me personally, I guess I don't have an Alexa. Partially because I don't know what the fuck I'd use it for. Like I'm just on my computer all day with my headphones on. I never listen to music like that around the house. I don't know what the fuck I'd use it for. I don't have a smart house. I live in an old building. You know what I mean? Like there's just no. I don't know. It wouldn't suit me. But hey, if you have a reason to have one of these things and you think that's like worth the cost, then power to you.
I wish I had a smart house.
I know, right? That sounds fucking great.
Yeah,
Alexa, show me this guy's balls.
I wish I could have a smart house without having to have it connected to Google. Like that would be,
But Google,
where I'm at.
but then you'd be like, Alexa, look up this, and it would return the fucking wrong answer. Oh my God, how frustrating would that be? It'd be arguing with Alexa, like, Alexa, stop being a fucking idiot. Fuck you. Like, oh, go fuck yourself, Alexa, stupid ass.
I was like IBM or something built this like model smart house, and it was so pimp. It was so good. It was amazing. All the stuff they put into this place.
You remember that Disney movie, Smart Home?
No.
There's a Disney movie.
There's a Disney movie. This I'm talking about
Oh.
20 years ago, over around there, called Smart Home,
Oh.
where it was basically the idea the house was a completely smart house. It could like open up the floor and clean everything for you, and as long as it was touching, and like these kids were taking advantage of it because their father was a engineer at the company that made it, and then the smart home started going all crazy and then got hacked or some shit like that. But this
Got
was
hacked?
like a 20-year-old. This was like a
Hacking?
20-year-old movie. The stupidest part about the movie is the
What if
kids
got
found
hacked?
out, the father found out, the father left for a business trip or some shit, left the kids alone, only discovered that the kids threw a party because they found a sweater on top of a plant, and he was able to extrapolate a sweater on top of a plant that the kids must have thrown a rager, right? And the smart home cleaned everything up and he abused it. I'm like, get the hell out of here. I don't know why I'm thinking about
That was
that. I
that
even
was
watched it.
that was what I was going to say earlier until we got into a completely different topic. Was like, really the people that are going to be affected by this new smart home ring technology shit like that is teenagers who are trying to sneak out of the house. Like, I remember I snuck out of the house so many fucking times. That shit's just going to be a thing of the past. You're not going to be able to do stuff
No.
like that without getting caught.
No.
And that
Gonna have to
sucks.
hack it.
Like, sucks for them.
Hack
Suckers.
glasses.
Like, I don't know what to say. Like, I don't know. That sucks for them.
It doesn't suck for them. They shouldn't be damn sneaking out anyway. That's how you get unwanted damn
Boring.
They're gonna have to
pregnancies
hack
and
it.
shit.
That's what they're
Fuck
gonna
that.
do. They're gonna hack the fucking little bot. Everybody's a fucking
I mean,
hacker.
that actually would be exactly what they'll do, right? Like,
I
they'll like put footage of themselves like sleeping in bed and then sneak out.
Yeah.
Well, I don't
Little
think
picture
I'm
of
not.
their
I don't
face
think anybody's.
on a
I
balloon in their
hope
bed.
no parent has a room inside their teenager or puberty aged, like a nanny camera inside their puberty aged like kid. I would hope not. But on
Yeah.
the outside
In
of
their
your
forehead.
home, right?
Like a third
Like it's
eye.
not uncommon to have every inch of your home fucking watched.
yeah.
Yeah.
mean-
Like,
Well,
I was just gonna say, me and my girlfriend watched our friend's house. We did some cat sitting for them. They have like these cat cameras. We didn't know they had the cat cameras, but like the person, our friends who we were staying with, they like busted out a conversation and like busted out my girlfriend. It was just really funny. It was just weird though. Like afterward, me and my girlfriend were like, we're not gonna say. It's like I was there talking bad shit. Like they can hear everything.
That's how they caught him jerking off in front of the cat.
It's fucked up, man. It's really fucked up. I wasn't hurting nobody.
Well, maybe you should have done that.
What you don't know can't hurt you. All right? We're not living in that kind of society anymore because you gotta know.
And the jizz goes into the orange juice. Okay. Anyway.
Oh, look, hey, it's a weird fetish. Don't fucking kink shame me.
I thought that orange juice tasted funny. I knew it.
But I think Captain even inspired what we're going to do on the open walk-on, because I want to talk about what are the limits as to, because Spoon is fine to fucking everything apparently. Like what is the limits of like what you should do to be able to keep your kids safe? Like now I'm really curious. Like what technology should you employ, right? Like if it's for the possibility of keeping your child, it has utility, then like where should we draw that line?
I think we should get like one eye replaced with like a video screen, right? That you can just get video screens from, and then everybody gets a third eye in the middle of their head that constantly records everything, and the other eye is just like for looking around, right? That way we become a hive mind, and that's the ultimate goal, to become the communist hive mind.
God, imagine when you're not going to be able to actually hide your thoughts from other people. Like everyone has this facial recognition memory.
Person.
You like I'm interested because like the future, right? If we're talking about individual robots inside of our heads or inside of our things, but the future isn't that. It is that. But the real future is going to be when you can literally plug into like the brain implant that you're going to plug into, right? Because like this isn't that you have Elon Musk with Neuralink. You have
It's not going to happen. Like
no. Wait, no, time out, because they already have, like you say that, but they already have like ping pong being played by chimps, right?
Okay, ping
like
pong is like
on video. No, but the idea, right? Like you can't say that because you have to rewind like 50 years, right? In the scope of a human lifetime, we discovered flight and reached the fucking moon.
No, this is not the same thing. This is not like we have not dissected the human. No, we have not dissected. We have not dissected the human brain to the point where we can
Not
connect
yet.
our thoughts in that way.
No,
We
no,
can
no.
guess
Like
what someone's thoughts are.
you're correct. We haven't done it to that granularity, but they've already been said like, hey, some things
require-
are easier to do than others, right?
It's gonna
For
be
example,
centuries, and past that,
it could be 50 years.
no, it's centuries.
We don't
and
know
past
this. We don't.
Centuries.
How can you say centuries
In
definitively?
50 years,
That's crazy.
No, it's not crazy because
It is.
there's so much the human mind that we have not unpacked that it would be
Mhm.
ludicrous to think that we can have cyber brains and all that shit going in
And we're
50
on the
years.
and
not
we're
even
on the
close.
It's
I'm telling you right
we're on the
now, I'm not
verge.
gonna
We're on the
die.
verge of
We're on the
freaking
verge- we're on the
quantum.
verge
No, we're on the
of-
verge of quantum computing, right?
Yeah.
It's which is going to significantly increase. Like that is a problem that we for
That
like
will
more tech
accelerate our
literate people are
processing
going
capacity. Fine.
it like
sure.
it's substantial problems, right? And so
Sure.
a lot of these issues are going to be solved at a faster time frame that's going to be as opposed to before.
I mean, the whole point though is that we're going to have to be able to take a brain, slice it up into very, very thin parts while it's operating to figure out what each part does, and then take that stuff and correlate it to a processor. And like that whole point here. And wait, and before we even get to that part, the other part that's like a really big deal here is that like integrating technology into a living brain is actually like rather complicated. Like we know enough, for example.
No way. Can't be that.
We know enough. We know enough, for example, to send electrical signals into the brain to help someone deal with depression. We have enough to help someone move mechanical arms and legs, which is actually like pretty impressive considering, right? But there's like that's like really, really easy basic shit in comparison to taking someone's thoughts and then transmitting them through the internet, right? Like that's like really, really hard. Like we're not gonna get Ghost in the
Right.
Shell like era life whatever anytime soon. Like
I told
50
you.
years.
I'm not gonna die.
I
Okay.
think the hesitation, right, that I have is I dislike putting on time frames because the internet did not exist like in our parents' age. They had zero idea of it. And now the internet's here, everything is connected. We weren't expecting that. I think you have to be careful, right? You have to be careful with the saying like, and it's going to take us 100 years to do this because we don't know this. Maybe it is very difficult, and with all the technology that we have, maybe with quantum computing it becomes a lot more accessible, right? And they make leaps and bounds in the field because they discover something or whatever, right? But at the end of the day, where we are going is in this direction, right? Where you're going to be attached to this because there's already controversies right now where it's just like, what do you do? Like once again, right? I think it's ridiculous to make this claim because you could go back to the 1900s and say we're never going to the moon. Especially you can go to the 1912s. I think was when the Wright brothers did their in Kitty Hawk, North Carolina, right? But you're never going to the moon. But we went to the fucking moon, right? It was unfathomable.
Yeah, but we're starting to approach like this limit in like physics, and in which like we can't actually surpass like some like very basic boundaries, right? And like we're talking about like the human mind, which is probably the most complicated, or I mean, it's just such a complicated organ.
It's the most complicated thing on earth,
right? Like whatever, like we're not even close to actually touching that. Versus like flight being attempted for like 100 some odd years at least prior to the Wright brothers.
I guess here's the only thing I can say, and then like we could put a pin on it, right? It's I can agree where it's like the understanding every aspect of the human brain is very far away, right? And being able to translate that and to go into that. However, there's already things that we can do right now with our brains, like with these hookups, right? That are going to be more feasible inside, right? So I'm hesitant to give like a specific example because outside like the chimp playing ping pong and everything. But if there's like a small little hook,
we can do depression. That's what we got so far.
Okay.
Right. So like, but like regardless, it's going to be more intertwined and intermingling in our lives sooner than later.